9 a.m. on May the 2nd. Mr. Pickerel, sir, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today? Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, folks. Thank you for being here today. Finally getting a little of that blessed moisture, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. Madam Secretary, would you conduct the roll call, please?
Commissioner Flower.
Present.
Commissioner Camden.
Here.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen.
I do not, sir. I don't have anything.
I've got an item, but I think I might bring it up under Commissioner items because I'm not real comfortable with changing the agenda as we go along. Is that reasonable?
Sure.
So I will add that. Audience introduction. Jackie Bubis from the Sentinel.
Alan Butler from the airport.
Bob Jolly from the airport.
Jerry Pickro of the golf course.
Tracy Ballard Tribune.
Thank you. Welcome. No minutes to approve at this time, so we'll move on to Commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you start off, please?
I would be happy to, but I have nothing to report since yesterday's meeting.
All right. Commissioner Camden.
Yeah, it was quick and dirty, wasn't it?
Yeah, seems like it.
Only thing we did, Tom and I went to the landfill and talked with the state certifiers for monitoring the landfill out there. We're going to put in a couple test wells out there, which is good. And we'll be able to use that for the engineering data for actually expanding it later on. That's what they hope and what we hope. Went pretty well, didn't it, Tom?
Mm-hmm. I thought so.
And that's all I have that's new, and we'll find out more as we go along and as we start making a plan on the expansion.
Okay. Good. Yeah, since yesterday obviously was out at the landfill as well and met with those folks. There were really two entities there. One was CPHE, and then they had a rep from a company that will actually do the drilling. So we met with really two different folks, but they're going to sonic drill that. It'll take 30 to 60 days to get in position to actually start the drilling out there. So they're going to drill up on the north side of that trench area and on the west side of that trench area. So
We're really
very
confident
excited
that the core samples will work for
yeah,
them.
we're very excited about the possibility of being able to use those two drillings, corings for the data, engineering data on the area landfill. So that will save us
Yeah, it saves quite a bit of money.
money, and then almost as probably critical as time. So we won't have to go through this all again. And really, she said that it looked like if the data from these two wells came, or not wells, but core drills, and they didn't hit water, then we could probably use that data for going west down towards the gravel pits, if we ever want to use that as an area landfill. They said we'd probably have to drill a monitoring well, groundwater monitoring well, on the west side of that. But boy, we're talking, if we can get by with the data off of these two well or two drill sites, saves a lot of money and time. So was excited about that. And then I went down and caught the last part of the planning and zoning meeting that was held in the conference center at the bowling alley. I didn't really get involved in that meeting any, but I did slip in there before they adjourned. And then at 3 o'clock yesterday, we had a health and safety response team meeting. And I don't know if we've even talked about that. Actually, there was, that group kind of came about in response to different entities in the county going out on some calls, whether it's EMS, sheriff, human services, public health. And so we're kind of unofficially meeting and trying to decide if there's a real need for us to have a health and safety response team. If somebody, Jackie Hobby from Planning and Zoning has to go out on a call to check something out, we kind of want to have an organization thing put in place to say if she feels like she needs help, she can call. And so right now we're looking at Sheriff's Office, Planning and Zoning, Public Health, Human Services, Commissioners, Fire, EMS, County Attorney to kind of set on this committee. So as that progresses, I would think we'd be bringing that to the board for a little more formal thing, but we did have that meeting yesterday. Went pretty good. We're also talking about trying to procure hazmat suits for all those individuals. Right now it's pretty loosely controlled. Some people have them, some people don't, some people have booties, some people have masks.
I got a paint mask.
So, yeah. So, you know, we get into pads, grows, you know, we need to be a little more organized, I think, as a county there. So we are moving forward with that. We're scheduled to meet again. I can give you that date if you guys would be interested in setting in on that. That is May 16th at 2 p.m. in the Commissioner's room. And
When?
it's May 16th,
16th,
and instead of the acronym being HAZARD, it's HASRT, HAZART. So we thought we were pretty clever coming up with that. Anyway, would enjoy and welcome commissioners being involved in that. And certainly our attorney was sick yesterday, not feeling well, so we knew why he was not there, but he had attended the first meeting and was glad to have him there. And then the other thing I want to bring up to the commissioners is an item I would like to include, and I'll certainly make a motion to that effect, that we include the IT department as part of our regular monthly staff report.
Good idea.
I would like to have that individual come in. Do you feel like that would require a motion?
I don't believe so.
I've spoken to our IT director, and he said he was fine with it, but Ms. Brenda, then by general consent, can we start adding them? I say them because there's two of them now, but soon to be one. We'll just call that IT.
Two.
Okay, thank you. You good? You have something to?
No, they were asking what time. It was 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock for the
Yeah.
hazard.
Oh, the hazard meeting's 2 o'clock, yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I will get with Vernon and see which day and what time.
Okay, yeah,
works
that'd be
best
great.
for him.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then I thought, are there other reports we should be hearing on a regular basis? And then I never got to give that much thought, but I would throw that out too. I can't really, I just,
Come in that we don't already have.
I just don't know why IT was never in the loop.
Should be.
You trying to fill up a whole week's worth of meetings?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to stay informed and stay abreast so that we don't fall behind the 8 ball if IT has a need or concern or whatever, so.
I think that's a good plan.
Other than that, I don't have anything else for commissioner items. So we'll move on, unless you gentlemen, anything else, commissioner items? Attorney items?
Nothing today.
Okay, thank you. Administrative assistant?
I have nothing.
Okay. We'll move into staff reports.
We were right on into that, didn't we?
Yes, we did, boy. I tried to delay it.
That's 10 minutes into this meeting and you're up.
So, airport, for your monthly report, welcome. You're both welcome to come up if you'd like. We can drag another chair up or...
Probably here better.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Sorry, sir. Good to see you.
I want you to note, I put on all my aviation regalia and you guys is
We
on
got a
it.
great tie.
Got the tie, the coat,
Good morning.
the hat.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's sit back down.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll shake your hand, Bob.
Good morning.
Bob, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I shook Alan and sat right back down too.
I
So,
didn't mean to do that.
Well, that's pretty much the way it's
we did not
That's the way
have,
we do things.
we did not have any documentation, correct?
No.
Ahead of time, okay, good.
No.
Good. Wanted to make sure I
And I'll
wasn't
start.
missing something.
No, I didn't send any this time because there really wasn't anything.
We'll take your monthly deposit and get,
Now you go ahead and make that check out. I had my notebook over here. But there hadn't been much going on with the wind. And I'd like to say the weather, but it's
just wind,
it's
didn't
just
it?
wind.
Yep.
Wind. Thank goodness we got a little bit of precipitation. Although at my house anyway.
Yeah.
Raining pretty hard on that place.
Yeah. We'll get some more. Okay, to start with, not much has happened, other than the wind and the weather. The state has come by and inspected the airport. You know, we told you they said they were gonna make us one of the first airports they inspected, and they did.
Oh,
Yeah,
They
and we
held
knew,
true
we
to
knew
their
they were
word.
coming.
Is it because they like the food here in the valley?
Yeah, they like to eat. I don't know if they ate or not. Usually they do. But I think Caitlin and I don't know who came with her for sure.
Whole bunch of young
oh, okay.
interns.
Because they have some new people that they're training on doing the different reports and stuff. So there was a whole carload
I
of
was
them.
gonna say, I'm compelled to ask, did they fly in?
No, they drive. They don't like
Cowards.
like
Especially this time of the year.
And they got a Twinkie light on top of their car.
Oh, so they're somewhat official, aren't they?
So we can expect a report on that in 90 to 120 days. It takes them a while to get all that done. And since they've got some new people, they have some new people.
So they were
I'm sure
training
it'll
while
take
they
a
were
while.
looking.
Yeah, here's what we need, here's how we do it, and here's what we do, etc. I was not there, and in fact, they called Bob and said we're coming, and he didn't have to be there. And so we kind of picked up on the.
They didn't
and
want
he
them
had-
around.
He was like me, he had a doctor's appointment. Yeah. That they probably didn't
Won't
really
be
need
bothered.
us around anyway.
No, they don't.
Oh, okay.
You know, because they're doing
They're
the
doing their thing,
thing
you
and
know.
talking, yeah. Okay, the second thing that they told us in this conversation with Caitlin at the state was they said, well, you have a game management report that you'll need to be filling out. We noticed you haven't done one of those, and your board can do that. And well, what's on it? Well, how are you going to manage the game? You know, fences and stuff, and they said, and there is a class that does go with that.
Oh,
that
great.
will be
Show you how to fill out the form and what we're gonna have to buy to keep the deer off the runway.
Yeah, and we're going.
Or the antelope.
Now we're going. Come on, you know.
Is it
So,
required class or no?
Yes.
Yeah, we're supposed to go. I don't think it's a real complicated, but it's to try to keep everybody working on the same.
Is it in Denver or is it online or what is it?
I don't know. She didn't tell Mom.
But here's the report, it's real short and sweet. Bunch of big boxes.
Did an airplane
Check,
hit a deer?
Check. So
Okay.
that isn't going to be too much. And I don't know, in their meetings, guys, sometimes they'll have huge hangar full of people, and they'll have, you know, sandwiches and soda pop and stuff. And then other times they have this big meeting and you go up there and you think it's gonna be a whole bunch of people and there'll be this part of the state or this quarter of the state,
10 people.
10, 12 people. We made this small so everybody could get in their questions and stuff. So you don't know. And with that, give it to Robert, the airport manager.
I've got a report that's a little bit different this time. And since I've been on the airport board in 2011, we never reported this to the commissioners. And we probably won't unless there's a significant update. But when I came on board in 2011, if anybody asked how many aircraft we had stationed at the airport, the board would have gotten a bunch of blank looks because nobody knew. In 2014, the FAA asked us, so we went out and counted. We had 10 aircraft total.
Based in
Based
there.
Yeah.
One was a glider, one was a twin, and no jets. Today, we've got 22 aircraft, 2 gliders, and 1 jet. So there's been a
That's good.
significant...
That's some houses that were built. And
Yes, and we've got a new house going up this month, and we've got a lot of people clamoring for hangar space. And in 2011, we were selling a little under 1,500 gallons of fuel a year, and we're selling it at cost, which meant the county picked up everything. Today, we're selling about 6,000 gallons of fuel, and we're making about 35 cents a gallon on average, anywhere from 50 to 25. So we're picking up a lot of the expenses at the airport. So the airport's growing, and it's growing significantly, and I think over the next few years it'll even grow a lot more. So that's just for y'all's information.
Good one.
Kind of question. Yesterday we heard about a large jet that is interested in using our runway, and I heard about multiple core samples that are going to have to be taken from the runway to determine. I'm assuming it's weight to make sure our runway is safe for that. First of all, I don't know if I'm talking correctly, but if that's correct, is that going to in any way impact the integrity of the runway by drilling many core samples into that? Okay.
We're just kind of in the beginning of what you do to find out what you need to do so that you can actually do it. And one of the things that I think that has happened is the jet driver is visited with Bob just briefly. And so that's kind of where they're getting started.
And Bob referred him to me and
Right.
we
And then-
talked to him. So.
And then Bob called Bill, and then Bill talked to
Mike
the
Jones
family.
is his name, and he
Mike.
represents the family right now.
Tall fella, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Tall guy. He's a family pilot.
About 6'7".
So we don't know much right now
Okay.
to report. Certainly whatever we might report, it might not be accurate.
That's fine.
You know,
Too early.
a little early
Okay.
in the project.
How much per gallon over your cost are you charging at the moment?
Right now it's 25.
And do you know how many gallons you sold in April? If you don't know, that's fine.
I
I
don't.
thought sometimes you report that. I was just
Yes.
wondering if you knew.
No, I don't. I was gonna stop by the airport this morning
It's
and
not-
look
it's
at
not a
my
big
watch,
deal.
and I was running a little bit late,
It's not a
so.
big deal. I was just wondering.
You mentioned your wildlife class. I'm assuming that includes prairie dogs. Gophers.
It would be, now there's two, as I understand it, there's kind of two sides to this. One is the state keeping track of who has prairie dog or wildlife problem. Most of the problems airports have are with prairie dogs. They dig holes and they dig it next to the runway and the water gets underneath the runway and that type of thing. But then they also have mitigation things that they can do. And one of the things that they have right now, that caught us at the meeting a couple of months ago, was that they've got a contractor that's USDA, wears a uniform. She's been here before. And they work on,
Mitigating.
yeah, they even, if they see an owl or eagle.
Well, they log it,
count
they're just taking a census.
Yeah. And she is hired to, she would be hired to come down, and when they came before, they brought quite a crew and they went and
Yes, they were here.
counted and they tried to figure out if there were deer or antelope close by and that kind of thing. Not necessarily get rid of deer or antelope,
Right.
that's not the point, but
Does the state have any funds to help local airports mitigate those problems?
The USDA, when they came down last time, they charged this, and I can't remember now what the number was, but when I talked to her at our meeting up in Denver, she said now it's no cost to the county.
they're a contract.
To come down and
They've
do
got
a study?
intergovernmental agreement,
And if their study says, man, you guys gotta get rid of these prairie dogs, do
Well-
they have any money to help do that?
Yes, they do.
They do, and it would be free, nothing's free, but it
Right.
would be at no cost to the county. And there's other things that we're kinda high and dry here, but there's other places and other things that have different kinds of problems than we would have. We really don't have very many problems. Wildlife,
Right.
but Gunnison.
Gunnison, I was just gonna say Gunnison on the other
Gunnison had a
hand.
big problem with that, and they spent lots of money
Putting tall fences up.
and tall fences, and it's marshy, and they were gonna dry that up and make some roads and whatnot. It was airport related. And it finally wound up after years and years of working on it. Everybody got together, they got it worked out. But it was Reach Hamlin, that marshy river, the river bottom that runs on the south side of there. I mean, that's just one thing. Then you go to Grand Junction, you got another one. You got all the long-legged, what do they call them? The birds.
Yeah.
You know,
Right?
yeah, the
Sand
cranes
cranes.
that go through during the migration time of year. That's a big problem for them. They're big. I mean, you go through a jet engine with one of those and it shuts down.
Well, I can see where antelope could be a problem for us. They like to hang out down there in that country,
Yes,
so.
they do.
And we have more deer than we've had before, we think.
Yes. Yeah, one of the questions on the questionnaire is, do we have a fence? And that's a requirement, and that's why we've got the gates on there now. In 2011, we didn't have gates, but the requirement is you have to have a fence completely around the airport. As long as now, they wanna know how high it is, and I'll tell them how high it is. But the requirement is to have a fence all the way around. That's why we put 2 gates in
Is
back
that
in
a
2012.
transportation security thing, or is that an animal thing?
It's more of a
Airport
people
security.
problem, security
Yeah.
Right.
thing. Now, anybody can go through that fence, anybody can cut it and go through it.
So what they do, this is just a little bit of information for the people that don't fly. It's like signs on the highway here. You see deer signs to let the public know, watch for deer as you're driving down the hardscrabble or whatever. Or in the hardscrabble's case, it's mountain goats.
Yeah, it is.
But if it gets to be a big enough concern, then what they do is they flag it on a chart and they flag it on a plate that aircraft land. They'll put watch for possible wildlife at the end of the runway or whatever. We've never had a problem up here that I know of except for cattle before the fence was up.
Yeah,
And the
horses way back.
Cows would get on it, and actually they just look at you. You can't scare them, but the deer you can.
But there is an official notice in our,
Yeah, on the
When Bill used the
Right.
word plate pilots, you open your book, I gave you one of those books,
Mhm.
but you open the book, you go to Westcliff, and it reads you caution, deer in the area, gliders.
Yeah, and you want that from a
It tells you all
liability
that.
point of view, and you want it from a safety point of view for the pilot.
That's a plate.
Directory. Yeah, I know, obviously Canyon City's got chain link fence around the majority of it, not all of it. They also have barbed wire fence on the south side, but Fremont County, I should say, not Canyon
Yeah.
City, sorry.
They have two fences there. They've got the critter fence, the real
Mhm.
tall one by the highway, and then they've got a people fence
Yeah,
that you don't see. That people are always, not I say always, but Dick's always whining about somebody come through the gate, puts a lock on it, they cut the lock off. You know. They're
Good.
around a lot of people.
okay, gentlemen, anything else?
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for listening.
Oh, you're
Thanks for
welcome.
that, Chris.
You're bringing money in next time. Bring some check.
We bought 35 cents, that was better than nothing.
Yeah.
Gotta shake your hand going too.
Oh, I gotta get around here where I can reach.
Thank you,
I
guys.
run into this guy everywhere we go. don't I?
I'm a busy person. Do a lot of business at your store.
Yes, he does. Good day to you.
Treasurer's report, good morning. How are you? I'm doing well, thank you.
Virginia, how are you?
Okay.
So, you see the ones that are highlighted, I just kind of want to give you a little education on that. Those are the ones that I pay out. Those are the entities that I collect for and pay out.
Okay.
So, I added them up, it's $1,152,997.24 for this month. Just, it's an FYI thing.
Okay, can you hold that thought for just a second then? Let me get my eye on it.
Do you
I
pay
don't-
traffic fines?
I have to pay to the state.
State?
State, VAST, 11th Judicial, there's all these entities.
I should,
Hospital.
yeah, I was just looking down here at 625, 709.
Mhm.
How's come that's different than 1.153 here?
Well, I
Maybe
haven't
I'm not
taken that out
following
yet. I haven't taken that out yet. I don't have to pay this out until the 10th of this month.
Okay,
This is what we collected last month. I have to by statute pay it out by the 10th of this month.
so this will be what you will end up paying out.
Correct.
That includes this.
That is that.
That is not that.
Okay.
It's not been taken out yet.
But that's what you will do, is what
That's what I
he
will
was
do.
asking.
Mhm.
Do you get to keep any of the traffic fine money, or does some of it come
Yeah,
back?
some of it stays to the county.
Anything unusual to report on this?
No, we're pretty good this month.
Good.
Motion to accept this.
I'll move we accept Virginia's treasurer's report,
Second that.
April.
Moved and seconded to accept April's treasurer's report. Discussion, debate. Hearing none.
You may help us set a record. It's
All in
only
favor,
pretty-
say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed no, motion carries. Report's been accepted, anything else, ma'am?
No.
I can just sign below, oh, yeah, I see it there.
I try to print real small, write real small.
Yeah, and I'm a big writer, you probably noticed that, right?
Okay.
All right, well, thank you, ma'am, appreciate that. We will press on.
Okay.
Closer.
Have a good one.
Thank you for coming in, Virginia.
Laura's on her way.
Okay, thank you. Human Services will be next. While we're waiting, we had a couple people show up after we did our audience introductions. Would you like to introduce yourself, Ann?
Ann Barnthorpe.
Sir, would you care to introduce yourself?
Certainly. My name's Frank Turpinning.
Frank,
Nothing but a Valley resident.
heard the name a lot. Nice to put a face to that.
I just wanted to step in front of you
I
while you're talking
appreciate
to
that.
him.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning.
It wasn't in the sheriff's blotter either. I know it.
That nice tie you have on.
Oh,
See?
Oh, you
I
did.
had
Hey,
to
look,
make a
I got an
call.
airplane.
I had to do it, I had to do it, you know. I have to do these things, we get the opportunity, you
Yes.
know.
They're reruns now, you've gone through all my titles. So you seem like
yeah.
Okay,
I really like your new,
I do too.
it's much better, it's so much better.
I really like it.
And then
Yeah.
I worked it out where I'm printing it off and then I'm scanning it, and that's working much better too, so everything is working a whole lot better with this. So you can
No,
understand it
that's
better,
great. Yeah.
it's
Thank
not
you.
all clustered up there and
Doesn't look
everybody's
like
going.
human services document,
Yeah, it's like the,
like government.
yeah, like
Yeah.
government stuff, you ought to see this thing I'm supposed to fill out now, I'm like, okay, I can't even read it, the boxes are so small, and it's
Yeah.
like this, and it's commodity thing, and I'm like, oh, okay. So anyhow, it's pretty simple on the front page, cause we're just into March and not anything going, oh my gosh, on that, so. And then the next one is the old age pension, and that just shows the number of payments and stuff, where we are on that, there again.
Can I interject?
Sure, you can.
I don't lay awake at night thinking about it, but I certainly try to
Okay,
watch my language and verbiage so I get everything just right, and we're still at old age pension.
and that's what it's called. It is, it's called
Yeah.
old age pension, OAP.
So I'm gonna ask, do you have an old age discount when I go into another business instead of a senior discount? They probably won't even know what I'm talking about.
I don't think they would,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't do that if I was you. I don't think you're gonna get anywhere with it.
But you want to admit you're a geezer, Tom.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't have any problem admitting that, that's for sure, but,
And then the LEAP is here, and, the last LEAP payment went out this month, LEAP is over now. And so we didn't have anybody applied, well, that's not true, because they will run a payroll in May for anybody that applied late in April, but the program ended April 30th, so there'll be, a May payroll that runs.
right.
They also did a supplemental payment, they're going to, of $200 across the board to everybody that received leave. So that's supposed to run probably with that May payroll. They were trying to do it in April, and it didn't happen, which is fine. So they'll be getting that out.
Do you get that leap from the feds ahead of time, or is that in arrears after you expend the money? Or does it go straight to the people?
It goes straight to our, we
It's not a
don't,
pass-through?
it's not a pass-through, we don't see it, it just goes, yeah, we don't get the money and pay it out, it just goes straight through to them. So, and then Medicaid transportation, this just shows you our Medicaid transportation, and it was down a little bit this month, which is really good, but we spend a lot of time on Medicaid transportation. Because we have to do all these forms, and we have more and more people.
Was this primarily ambulance costs? Or
Oh,
what
no,
is it?
no, this is anybody that's on Medicaid, if they have a doctor's
Oh, so if
appointment.
they get mileage for it?
Mileage, it is a
Oh.
reimbursement for mileage, is
Okay.
what it is.
You're not hauling them?
No, we're not hauling them, the Rotary takes them some, and we can reimburse Rotary, private cars, you know, some of them drive themselves, but because they're on Medicaid, we can reimburse that. So, yeah, we have to fill out forms, they come in, they tell us, this is where I'm going, this is the date, then we have to fill out a form, they have to sign, they have to bring it back in, then we have to enter it on the computer, and we handle a lot of paperwork for Medicaid transportation. But anyhow, so. And then our community service block grant. And it started in January to date. In March, I haven't had anybody apply yet. I've had somebody apply this month, so they'll show up for next time.
Please remind me what that's used for.
We use it for emergency, rent, utilities, we use it for prescriptions, we use it for dental. We've even used it for appliances, if we need hot water heaters, refrigerators, that type of stuff.
Vehicle repair, tires?
We can do vehicle repair if they are working. And tires and that type of stuff, we can use it for that too.
How much is the fund? How big's the grant?
Well,
Or
that's
is
a
it you
good,
just pay as you go?
well, I get an allocation, I get so much money, and we're tied in with, Upper Arkansas Council of Governments. And so, they do 4 counties, including them, and they portion out a share. And so they just tell me this is how much money we're going to get, so I never know. And I only have $1,430 right now. I'm supposed to get more, and they haven't received any more, so as soon as they receive more, then I'll get more, so I never know.
So it's sporadic, it's not by the month or anything, it's just whenever.
If we're supposed to get it at the first of the year, and then we're supposed to have it, and it's supposed to run through December, but, yeah, as you can see, it comes from wherever, and it's a grant that UConn does, and so they just have to wait to see if the grant's gonna be funded and all good stuff like that. We can pay up to $700 for each client, and that's our cap, we can't go over that. So if they need a new refrigerator, we can pay $700 and that's it, or whatever it is.
And that's income based.
It is income based. It is income. They have to fill out a form and provide verification of income, and then we're audited. They come down and audit us and all that good stuff. Okay, in Energy Outreach Colorado, we've been running this grant since October. And we had some March. I've had some in April, which will show up on here. We're doing okay, I think, today. I have like 2,000 left in that grant to last until then. We haven't been hit as hard because it hasn't been as cold, and LEAP's been working for them. And then the next one just shows the amount of food assistance that we paid out from March. And then the TFAB.
SNAP stays pretty consistent.
Yeah, it does. Up and down, we lose some, we gain some, but it stays pretty close to that.
Now the dollars
fluctuate just depending on the number of people in the household and income and all of that.
But still pretty close.
But pretty close, yeah.
Less than 10%, yeah.
Yeah. And then the TFAB just shows the amount in poundage. I took me a long time to figure out where that number even came from, but I finally figured that out. And then the dollar amount there.
And TFAB's going okay?
TFAB's going okay. Yeah. That's this weird report that I have to fill out, and now I'm like, oh my goodness. And so the gal said, usually we get rid of all of our stuff, and that didn't happen now, and so we have a little bit left, and so we have to report that back. And yeah, that form is a little crazy there, but.
Yeah, and I noticed on a couple of these graphs, which I really appreciate those, the scale, it makes it look like there's a huge increase in the number of households from one month to another, but it's not.
But it's not.
only
But
two,
when
two
you
and a
look
half.
at that, it's not, yeah, because I did that too. I thought, well,
Yeah.
good gosh, and then I looked and I went, oh, it went
Yeah, when
two
you get
households.
to
It
the
just makes it
scale
look
line.
really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
crazy there.
cool.
But, so there's that, and everything, we're plugging along on that, so.
Good.
This is so.
Oh,
Oh, it is, it's
Oh,
much nicer.
Thank you.
I
Yeah,
just said,
it is
we're
huge.
getting rid of all of this
Oh my
stuff we have down
gosh.
here, and I wanna make it easier, and the graphs make it easier, and you can understand it much,
yeah,
much better.
very
Much better.
user-friendly. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for doing
You're
that.
welcome.
So,
And let's see, we made it through April. April was kind of a hectic month because we had people at training, and Stacy and I were gone 3 days, Stacy was gone all week after that. We got the new caseworker hired, she came on board yesterday,
got to
so
meet
that's
her.
good.
That
She's
was
at
fun.
training,
For the next,
she's at training this week, and then, I don't know, then she's back, and then she's at
Yeah.
training, and then it goes on
she
for a
said
while.
yesterday she has about 7 weeks of training.
Oh, yes.
My God.
And you at liberty to tell us her name?
Nikki, Weiner, she was a dispatcher over at the sheriff's office.
Right. I know her.
Yeah, Stacy did a good job bringing her around yesterday
Yeah,
and introducing her to
And
folks. So,
at first, we didn't have anybody applying, because you have to have a degree in that, but in the end, we had 5, which was a good poll. We interviewed 3, one did not have the qualifications, ones we looked at, at her, and then the other one, had a set amounts of salary that she needed, which no way could we
Get
do.
there, huh?
No way so that didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we interviewed 3, 2 were from out of county, and then Nikki, who's in county, or she was working here. And so she was the one that we chose. And then after we did that, about 2 days later, I get 2 more applications coming in the door, you know, so, yeah. One of them was, we thought when we looked at it, we thought, oh, this one would really been good. She, graduated high school and just graduated college with a degree in social work. She's been interning down at Fremont County DHS. But Fremont County is down 6 caseworkers and they haven't hired her, so it makes you wonder why. So, we're like,
Good thing. Huh?
so maybe that's okay. And the fact that we got it, actually, we closed it on April 6th, and she didn't even submit the application to the 16th. So we're like, apparently she didn't see it or whatever. So we thought, you know, it was a missed opportunity, but she had already gone through all of the training that was required. Through all of this training that Nikki's having to do, she already did. So that would have been helpful, but it's like, and Fremont County knew we were looking for a caseworker and never said anything. And we were down there for a meeting and we were mentioning that, and one of the gals said, well, she's still interning with us. So I thought maybe we missed it was a good thing maybe that didn't happen, you never know. We'll see. So maybe in the next, sometime this month, we'll start advertising for Ron's position. It's just been too hectic to try to do it now. We wanted to get her on board and get stuff going. So we've just been trying to pick up the slack. But when we do that, we're gonna start, I'm gonna do some rearranging. I'm gonna take, Rhonda's been doing the child support and besides the eligibility and everything else, and we're gonna take that away from her and have somebody else do that, because we're getting more child support cases and stuff, and it's just too hard to stay up on that and balance it out. So that person will be taking those duties
So that'll be CPS position, your new person coming on?
No, not CPS. No, this is gonna be, I'm not sure what we're gonna call
I'm
it.
gonna ask you, is there a title or?
Well, that's a good point, because, you know, like, Rhonda's a legal tech, technicians, eligibility techs, they do that. This person isn't gonna be really determining eligibility. They're gonna be doing different duties. And so I'm gonna have to, I'm sure there's a classification for one, there always is. So I just need to figure out how we're gonna classify it. And they'll be doing Ron stuff, actually they'll be doing a case manager job, because they'll be the case manager job and child support, so probably that's what it's gonna be. Cool, so, here we go.
Thank you so much for
You're
changing
welcome.
that format. Oh my gosh, we did have a question, if you don't mind standing the question.
Oh, no.
We just, Tracy and I need the spelling of Nikki's name, if you have it.
I do.
Should get back with you.
I wanna make sure I spell it right, okay?
Yeah, I hate to
Jackie,
spell people's names
It's
wrong.
W-I-E-N-E-R.
E-R, and then it's Nicole, N-I-C-O-L-E. There's no H in it. Some people put an H in it, but I don't think there's an an H in it.
Perfect,
So
thank you.
I just wanted to make sure, I'm thinking, I'm gonna check that just to make
I
sure.
hate
But
getting
thank you, ma'am.
spelling names wrong.
That's
Pronunciation.
Oh, sure.
It's the same when I ask every single month, any anomalies, anything unusual, any disasters going on we should know about?
No,
I ask every month.
I know. No, we don't have a disaster yet, thank you. I had one at school yesterday, but we didn't. Yeah, we got called, and I'm like, why are we getting called on that? But found out why, and we didn't have to do anything, we had to go over there, so.
Well, it was nice to have Stacy and Nikki in our
Oh, yes,
hazard
oh,
meeting
yeah, so,
yesterday.
yeah.
Thank you
Have
for
that.
sending them.
I didn't get to talk to, Stacy much after that, cause she had to go.
We had some people not be able to attend, so it was more of just a conversation. But we did talk about some, actually Ebola suits and.
And stuff like that, we had talked about that before.
So we're moving on, and I informed the commissioners this morning that at some point we'll probably formalize that a little more, maybe some direction from our attorney. But thank you for allowing
because
those
that
to
is
come.
something that really needs to be addressed, and who does what and protocol and that, and it's, yeah,
All right,
it really
well,
is.
thank you. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and I was gonna say that, Stacy and Alyssa are at the Soul Vista training that Desiree's doing for mental health for teens. It's stuff, I went to one a long time ago. It just kind of gives you stuff to look out for and to see with teens and mental health and what you can, to see what you can do to help prevent it and stuff. So I think it would be, it's a great thing. There was a grant that was put out and they used that money for, Soul Vista did, they applied and got it, so that they could use that money to put this on, so that was a really good thing. So, I just let you guys know that, and it was nice of Soul Vista to do that.
Thank
so.
you, yeah, thanks for coming in,
Oh, yes.
appreciate that. Again, I want to hug you, and I will later on about this new format. I love it.
Anytime. I had a guy that I put some propane in his tank and he hugged me for that too. So
Oh,
that was
yeah,
good.
good. Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
For our newcomers, welcome, come on up. Would you folks like to introduce yourselves? We had introductions of the audience earlier. Nice.
Lee Creebon, my wife Carol.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Jim Parks.
Yes, sir. Yeah, sorry, gosh darn it. How are you?
Courtney Miller, my wife Lynn.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Welcome. Nice to have you folks here. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very tired.
Yeah, are you? Been running and gunning.
Running and gunning.
Yeah.
Had a mutual aid request from the Alamosa Sheriff's Department through CSRB. Search and rescue went out Monday night. They asked for more support and put some of our folks up in the motel there. And I went over and I see the mission had a 20-hour day yesterday completed. I'll have a press release out to the paper. So we drafted it yesterday on paper.
Wow.
So
Where were they?
Off the trail, about 2/3 of the way up to the lake.
All right.
Yeah, it was a
Saw
body
a,
recovery.
Already.
Saw a truck or, looked like a state truck of some kind up here, fire truck.
Oh, well, that was fire. This was
Yeah.
search and rescue assist, body
there was a
recovery.
fire
So,
vehicle.
Well, I knew it was searching.
yeah, I don't know. I think fire's doing some just training, working, prescribed stuff. Yeah. So,
Well.
so that
wow.
was busy. We had 10 people out yesterday.
And you were the IC on it.
I was IC.
Wow.
Yeah. Threw myself under the bus. We had Pueblo. Let's see. The first day, Rio Grande, Fremont. Yesterday, Pueblo, Chaffee County South, Saguache County, Custer County, Alamosa County. Did I say Pueblo County? Yeah, there were 8 teams. We had Flight for Life Monday, the multiple mission aircraft did a grid search for heat sensing, but we believe she was deceased sometime late Sunday. So
Did MMA locate or
no? No, they located another gentleman. They did find, so they grouped everybody up, all the teams, so that they'd see multiple heat sources. So we were looking for a single.
Wandering around.
So they did locate a single male party, I believe, smoking a cigarette. So pretty amazing that they have that kind of technology to say, no, it's not our female subject, but we do.
Wow.
So. Yeah. Might have been a cigarette.
Well,
not sure.
Never know today.
Wow.
So it was a successful mission.
No wonder we haven't seen or heard from you lately.
I fell off the radar.
Yeah.
Went home at 12:15. So
mission ended last night.
yeah, we almost made it before dark, but the last half hour was in the dark coming down the trail. So yeah, it worked out well. Had a dog team from Larimer County, and so yeah, interesting. Dust off the
Was the
boots.
victim local?
Huh?
Was the victim local?
No, she had ties to Antonito. If you saw the Antonito post, then we'll get an update out. But no, she was not.
Well,
Her ex-husband was a 29-year-old female running church. I'm not sure both girls. So yeah, and a public health issue. And then we mentioned Ebola. We had a twist on this one too that I can't discuss, but it brought all that PPE and stuff to the forefront too. So
I think you just heard me. We talked about that yesterday in that hazard meeting.
Yeah, we knew going in, so we grabbed some masks and extra gloves and Clorox wipes and everything in their status. So transferred to the coroner about 9:30 last night over there, and got them all the photos. I haven't even looked at anything yet. So, we also did 100, 700 last week
Yeah.
training. Had a lot of the road and bridge guys there.
Good.
I thought it went on too long. Talked to Gary Hyde. Starting next year, we're gonna. FEMA wants them to do it online, so we're gonna push the online version. It was a little too deep in the weeds. Did a BOCC training on
Yeah,
Monday
I missed
afternoon.
that, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. There is an exercise in Pueblo today, so there's a lot of regional posts. I don't know if you guys are getting those at the regional level or you need to, but they're doing an exercise where there was a catastrophic dam failure in Warfano County last night that's impacting Pueblo. Town of Boone, Fowler, some of those are getting whacked hard in the exercise this morning. Warfano County went up to support that. But all the flooding it's Warfano Dam 5, is that scenario. It's catastrophic. They had a heavy rain event, that kind of stuff. So their EOC is stood up and running, and they have to do an annual exercise for their CSEP funding. I'm not going to work Friday. Saturday is the wildfire prevention event in Pueblo Mountain Park, and so Meredith and I will be down there all day Saturday, and there's another one going on. Drawing a blank. Right. A little bit of a brain freeze this morning. Oh, Monday. Monday we're doing Ready, Set, Go for all the school kids. John Tilton helped us put that together. I think we're doing K through 5, like 4 sessions back to back. We got a couple of great videos. Meredith's tweaking the PowerPoint that I did at the library. We had 18 of that one, and we're tweaking that down to age-appropriate content with some fun videos on Ember, cartoon Ember storm kind of videos and protecting your home. And we've got some Ready, Set, Go bags that are going to go out that we bought with some of the CERT funds. So that's good. And then the new OEM website's up. It's still a work in progress, but there's a password protected section. I can give you that password later, but then there's the public plans and a lot of Firewise stuff. But on the CES password page, then you'll have access to the AOP and the MOUs and some of the documents, and Vernon's going to help me get some maps together, the GPS-enabled maps, and so we're making some pretty good progress there.
Your website comes off of the county website?
Yeah, and we still have to disable some of the old links, but it's custercountygov.com/OEM, and we've got pushing that message out. So I went to the wilderness workshop, and Commissioner Fowler was there. Did that library, and Meredith and Commissioner Fowler went to a large animal evac workshop, so we're trying to divide and conquer. We had our CES meeting. We had our weather spotter training. It was not well attended, but Tom Magnuson retired, and he had a hardcore fan club, so I think people were a little sad there. And then we got that big financial reimbursement on the Greenwood Wetmore grant down there that we were waiting on, that $193,000 that came in, so we got that out and paid the contractors. So.
Are they done, or are they still?
No, they're still working. We got a little
What
over
looks
$100,000 left. We got permission to keep going. We're working upstream, but we do have one landowner downstream that had some issues from last year, so Teresa Springer's gonna see if she can help them out. I don't know how that'll work. They did get pulled off during the Tuesday fires, the 117 fire and everything. The Juniper Valley crew is corrections firefighting crew, so they're the cheapest mitigation we can get, but they got pulled off and went and run. I got a call yesterday from the International Association of Fire Chiefs on that Ready, Set, Go grant we put in. So I got to call them. They had some more questions, but that's the second callback we got. So I'm a little bit encouraged that they might throw some bucks.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we continue to be fortunate, huh? I mean, that tender fire down there's got to
Close
be
calls.
brutal.
Some really close calls. Yeah.
And that was campfire started. They determined, I guess, I heard that on the news this morning. Tender fire in Phoenix, North
in Phoenix? Yeah, I heard.
Moyon Rim looked like it right after Moyon.
117 fire was a muffler dragging on I-25. And 40
So
some
I was
thousand
wrong. I
acres.
swore up and down it would have been a cigarette.
Yeah, that's what we were hearing initially, and they came back and somebody, and then then I was up in Colorado Springs over the weekend, and I'm like, what is that racket? And I look over, and somebody's muffler's dragging. Just I'm looking for sparks. Going, oh, come on. So, yeah, Dennis Page was out on the 117 fire. I think that's the first time Forest Service has really coordinated and responded east I-25, and they were able to. So, you know, when everything's happening on their federal lands, they're not going to be able to jump in and help. But, so yeah, post calls. Oh, I got the, you know, I think you guys have seen the OneDrive. I think kids having access. I got to get back on that update. And then I have to figure out exactly where my sick time was, but I think I have 6 or maybe 7 days of sick time for April. So I'm back. I was supposed to be back for a full day yesterday and ended up out of the office for more than a full day, but so I'm back. Other than carrying a backpack, I don't have any restrictions for that.
So you spent 20 hours yesterday on this mission.
I
Can't
left.
speak for these guys, but I'd have no issue if you want to go take a rest.
My dog had an issue this morning. You made me get out of bed. But yeah, I'm a midday nap might be really nice. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, I enjoyed attending that ag disaster training and Eden training up in Salina. I got a chance, you know, I'm sure you were aware I rode up with Meredith. Had a great opportunity to get to know her a little better. And
she's a spark plug.
oh boy, yeah, I think.
Yeah, she got our situation report finished yesterday, and we got the radio cache done, and she's great.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't see her, because we're trying to divide
Like I say,
and conquer.
she doesn't get into the limelight much because she's out there grinding away.
Well, yesterday morning I was thinking, this is yesterday, not today, and I said, oh, you're up for the commissioners, you're giving the report.
That's
So,
right.
and she was going to come, so she's over in Memphis now. So. But she is
Great little gal.
She really is.
Glad to spend some time with her. And
I'll send her around if you haven't met her.
So, we're good.
Any questions?
Go ahead. No.
I went through your report, and it appears that things are right on track the way they're supposed to be. Is there anything unusual going on that you need to know about?
No, I got to get the CES minutes out. We discussed adding after action reviews to a short section. You know, a big event will pull out and do a complete after action, but we're having some of the same little issues, and we figured if we started adding that section, you were there, and we can cover that. I know there was a question about posting the minutes, and I feel like I'm a facilitator for that meeting, that it's sort of a staff meeting, and it's sort of, you know, a place that we can get agencies to speak freely. So I would, if you want, I would like to throw that to the group, but I guess my instinct is
your discretion on that, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to speak to that whole minutes thing myself. Obviously, your OEM minutes going on there.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I could put my reports, I could put my quarterly reports, but the CES meeting minutes, I kind of think I would have to sanitize them at some time to make it more public content. It's more of a staff meeting.
From the OEM side, and I'm speaking strictly on the transparency issue, not that there's been an issue, but that's the platform. On the OEM side, CES is the only meeting. Right? I mean, there wouldn't be, E911 does their thing. So,
yes.
Do you have a group that has a secretary other than CES?
No, and
that's what I'm getting
CES has no,
They don't really
you know, we can make a recommendation that dispatch do this or the sheriff do this, but we have no authority.
We get all kinds of visitors.
I do attend the South Region Homeland Security Advisory Council meetings and the South Region ESF 5 meetings. Those are typically monthly, not every month. The next ones are tomorrow in Westport at the SAR Barn, 9:30 for Homeland Security, and I believe 1 o'clock for Christy Coleman's ESF 5 meeting. You're all welcome to attend those. That's, you know, instead of having to go down the hill, or we rotate them around, so you're more than welcome to come in. Chief, I know they're doing their exercise. I'm expecting Chief Mears from Pueblo ESC and some of those folks up. But yeah, they, you know, Larissa does Homeland Security minutes, and if there are minutes, Christie does them for ESF 5, so.
9 o'clock and what? And when?
Yeah, I haven't seen them, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see. Come across my
Larissa
desk.
has not sent out an agenda for tomorrow, and Christie sent one out Monday night, and I didn't get it forwarded. I did get my quarterly report in for the grant, and then finished up the finance piece Monday night, so. You know that quarterly report for transparency, the quarterly grant report, shows what we're working on in each emergency services function, so that might be one that, I'll email those to you now that they're both done. They haven't been accepted by Christie yet. She usually signs off and then forwards them up the chain, but that's a good one.
Yeah, I get it that there's not minutes. We don't have a secretary for that CES board. I kind of agree with Commissioner Prince, but I would like you to ask that group and see what they think about that.
Yeah, I think that's fair,
and
so
then,
that leadership can weigh in on the decision, and it's not me saying, oh, we will do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think we feel like it's something we need to say to you, you will do this. That's not, I don't think the intent. But if you could have that conversation with them, or I can bring them up the next meeting.
Yeah, we'll throw it on the next meeting agenda. So.
Yeah.
And then I know E911 was a question there, and so if E911 has a website, statutes mandate that they publish minutes and financials and stuff. They don't have a website, so but there are some state statutes that address that.
And
so this could
suffice for that.
Yeah, if you create, a page or a link that is them. Then,
well, we've got E911 on there and OEM.
Yeah, and then you'll have, again, you guys are 2 votes out of 7 there, so that's really one you need to throw out on their agenda and decide how to address that. So, 'cause that's actually, statutory authority board. But yeah, I've gone, in the past researching some of that, I've gone to El Paso's E911 authority site and pulled down documents and seen what they're doing and that level of professionalism and got some real good,
Did
sampling.
you give it to Buck?
I think I sent them links and stuff.
You did.
Yeah, I think
You're co-chair of that, correct? So we do have leadership on that. So yeah, let's bring that up at the next CES meeting and see.
Buck, talked about
Okay, here's a concern. I just don't want I don't want it to appear that we've got this black hole. We got everybody else reporting on their activities, and we get to OEM and we're going, nothing. So that's
well, and that's minutes, but that's typically the only monthly meeting I chair, and a lot of that is training too. So we did the EOC 101 tabletop. I think in May we're shooting, barring any fires. We'll be doing that hazmat tabletop. So a lot of those are decided to be trainings rather than meetings. But yeah, we can get something. So.
okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anything else, gentlemen? Thanks, ma'am. Thanks for coming in.
You shake
Shake
his hand first.
I'm waiting.
Oh, is he first?
Oh yeah.
I get twice.
Yeah.
This is, I get to go. I get to do all those on this thing.
See you later, kiddo.
Thank you.
For your work over the weekend, or yesterday, for sure. Gentlemen, any unfinished business? I'm not aware of any, but, okay, thank you. We'll move on to new business, but prior to doing that, we've got some other people. I don't know if there's a format for this or not, but if you would care to introduce yourselves. We've had audience introduction earlier. For those of you who come in after that, you're more than welcome to introduce yourselves.
And go kind of slow.
Yeah, we're actually trying to get everybody's name written down.
I'm Coy Plunkett.
Coy Plunkett.
Got it.
Me? I'm
Yes, sir.
Darren Redmond.
Got you.
You got me, you know who I am.
Glenn Shock.
Not gonna preach to us, are you,
Nope.
sir? Okay.
Take an offering.
Got you.
Oh, we can take an offering. I'm all about that.
Revert to me. I can't see behind.
That's okay.
Yeah, Jack Decker.
Okay.
Leonard Ketchum.
Hello, sir.
Okay,
Mr. Bob?
well, yeah, he.
Oh, he
I
already did,
got
oh,
him,
you
yeah.
did that on the side. Go ahead, sir.
Thinking.
Merton Young,
Merten?
Owen.
Owen, nice to have you.
Thank you.
Don Moore.
Patrick Lynch,
Mike Brannon?
That's
I think that's
everybody,
it. Yeah,
except
nice
I
to-
didn't get your last name.
Hey,
Yeah,
Courtney Miller.
Miller,
Uh-huh.
okay, I think I got everybody now.
It's Whiteley.
Yeah.
Well, nice to have you folks, thank you. I apologize that we don't have a bigger room.
You're gonna update your, jury duty list with this?
Well, welcome folks, nice to have you here. Oh, new business, Mr. Pickerel, you would like to discuss,
The golf course.
golf course, come forward, sir.
Most of, these attendees, I'm gonna go the other way.
Most of these attendees are your cronies?
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. There's
Strong,
I
strong
was
support.
gonna say, the other question is, are most of these attendees golfers?
They are.
Good.
That was it, yeah.
I inherited a set of ping eye irons over the weekend. Kinda all about going to stretching them babies out.
What color?
What color, yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Pink?
No, they're not pink. That's the first thing my wife
Down
wanted
in
to
color.
do.
You gonna pass those out to everybody? Yeah, you're gonna have to speak loud now, Jerry.
I know, which is difficult for me.
I know.
Given your former life, that surprises me.
Speak softly and clear.
Very a bigger stage.
That's right. Well, welcome, sir.
Thank you. The attendees here today are mostly golfers who have been traveling all over Colorado trying to find a place to play golf and regretting the fact that we no longer have a golf course.
If you're more comfortable, you're welcome to slide that
Slide
chair
over there so you
back there.
can see everybody.
You don't have to, but if it makes it easier for you, Jared. Don't hang an arm up under the table. All right.
We are here to hopefully save and preserve the St. Andrews Golf Course. It's been a wonderful asset for Custer County. It was always just assumed we would have one. In fact, there are more golf participants in outdoor sports in this county than there are in tennis, pickleball, baseball, basketball, and we do furnish places for those events to happen. So, there are some 840 golf courses in Colorado, and many of them are owned by municipality or county. There are none, I think, that compete with the magnificent views we have right here in Custer County. Let's see where we got here. Why is it closed? What happened? The golf course was built in 1988. Sometime after that, say 10, 15 years ago, Walker Property Group acquired the golf course. It has not been a happy relationship out there, I must say. It's not been a major impact for Walker Property Group to take care of this golf course. It has received, and I think these people will support that, it has received minimal maintenance and care. Not because the people who were working there were adverse to doing that. They were. Tried their best, but they did not have support of Walker Property Group. Walker Property Group got into financial difficulties and had to file bankruptcy. The golf course was included in that.
But it was also covered by a mortgage. Some $305,000 to, we will just use the short-term say Pinata. It's a financial group, and Pinata was able to persuade the bankruptcy court to foreclose that mortgage. They filed for foreclosure in August of 2016. That's an important date for me because usually when someone forecloses a mortgage, they want to do that and sell it and get their money back or whatever they can do. Interestingly enough, and I was monitoring this, I would go month after month, and they never called for a sale. That usually happens within 30, 60 days of a notice of foreclosure, but Pinata did not. I talked to the lawyers, and they said, well, I'm just waiting for them to, what equal to pull the trigger. Well, it wasn't until November of 2017 they pulled the trigger. More than a year from the time they filed their foreclosure. In the meantime, what was happening to the golf course? Nothing. It was abandoned. No watering, no mowing, no golf. It stood there like an orphan. Many of us rude dads, we offered to mow, we offered to do it. No, all offers were rejected.
By who? Who controlled it?
Walker Property Group. So, about October last year, Walker began to take what assets that were not covered by the mortgage off the golf course. And they could take anything that wasn't a fixture. So, if it wasn't nailed down, they took it off. I mean, everything. There's nothing out there of any value pertaining to a golf course. So, it now has been listed by Bob Cinderhoff for $525,000 by Pinata. Bob tells me that he's had several offers for the golf course. Only one of those offers intends to keep it as a golf course. We are in danger of losing it. And it would break my heart, and I think a lot of these folks here the same, if that happens. The golfers of Custer County, I think, see the potential of St. Andrews to be a great golf course. It has lost its potential all these 10 years, but we never lost the view of what it could be. And one of the reasons we'd like to do that is for the kids. It hasn't been too many years ago that Doc, who you know,
Marquez chiropractor.
Doc Marquez. He had a program going with the high school that was magnificent. He had many children coming out to the golf course for free lessons, free golf, free equipment. That program got into a conflict with Walker, and Doc walked away from it and left it. So, there's nothing there for kids here to bring them to go. What we want from you is for the commissioners to grant us the right to submit grants for the acquisition of this golf course in the name of the county. If we are successful in getting the $500,000+ to do that, then we want you to lease it out to a non-profit or profit corporation. So the county will have no liability, no cost for anything. I know the county has no money. They don't. But I'm persuaded that another corporation like that could make a difference.
Are the grants you're considering need to be matched by county money?
No, if that's true, we'll have to get that money from somewhere else. And it may be possible that, there is within the county some people who would be willing to make private contributions. And that would be wonderful. I think contributions to the county, Flint, are tax deductible, aren't they? I asked my accountant that, he said, well, they are if we give them to the sheriff, so I assume they are if we give them to the commissioners.
I think so, I'd
I
have to
think
look
so
into
too,
it,
for sure.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
I think they would be.
Gary, you had at one point said you had several people that were looking to do just that. Is
I did.
that fallen away?
Well, there has been about a month since I first discussed this with you. And during that period of time, I was in conversation with a fellow, I won't say who it was, but he indicated that he knew someone with big money and that would want to take this burden and buy it, and he might then want to take it as a paying proposition to take that golf course and make something out of it. That would be a wonderful solution for us. So I kind of waited on that and finally, I think, I still hear rattlings, but I said, I can't wait anymore. We're going to try to do something that we know will work. So, if we're able, and I've listed some grant possibilities here. Great Outdoor Colorado is a good one. They do have golf courses listed as a funding.
I don't see that, sir.
First
Oh,
one.
yeah, I'm sorry. Number 3.
Uh-huh.
Did you look at each of these, the criteria or anything like that?
I
Do you have any
haven't done
data
that.
for us yet?
I haven't done that in detail. Believe me, I do grants for search and rescue, and once you get into those, they're very complicated. In-kind contributions, you asked if there was some matching. We could provide in-kind contributions in some cases. I don't know if a grant would come in for half and we had to raise the other half by in-kind or actual contributions. I think there's a possibility that could be done. I've had indications from people who are willing to put money into this situation. In fact, I've got $75,000 right now pledged, but I'll discuss that with you in a little bit. Now, what if you guys own it? What are the problems? The first is title, and I understand that Bob tells me that
He just walked in.
oh, hi, Bob. That there is a title problem at the golf course. There is somehow maybe between the legal definition on the mortgage against the actual survey of the golf course, that there is about an 8-foot gap. I don't know where it is, or why it is. Is that explained right, Bob?
I didn't hear everything that you said, Mr. Pepperell, but
That there is a gap.
basically there is an issue as far as the legal description is concerned, and they're in the process of trying to get that rectified.
It's about a gap of 8 feet.
It's about a gap, and it's only about 8 foot. But your legal description does not go all the way around and close properly.
Yeah, that would be an issue.
So, but that's got to be resolved.
That would be an issue for anybody, including the county, if they were to buy it. Secondly, the water. The mortgage contained the water rights. So presumably the buyer will retain the water rights when they buy the property, and it would apply to the county.
How many acre feet do you know?
No, I don't. The golf course itself has 133 acres. They are adjudicated water rights. We share, my home is there on the golf course, and we have the same rights as the golf course does, but they are adjudicated water rights, and we're not affected by them nor them us. But it is something that the county should look at. Are there problems with the water commission? I don't think there is, but you'd sure want to know. And finally, operation. What would you do with it after you got it? I think there are two alternatives for this. One would be a lease to a nonprofit, the other a lease to a for-profit. If you would lease it to a nonprofit, we would still, the county and the citizens would still own it. I formed a nonprofit for that purpose, if it was to be used, the Custer County Golf Association. It's a vacant corporation, nonprofit is sitting there. I would suggest that if the county is successful, that at least one commissioner be on the board of that. So there's some attachment to it. If we got it, I can assure you that startups would be available. The $75,000 that I told you was pledged, and that would be just to get the thing up and going.
Bad enough for all the equipment that they don't have anymore?
I don't know. I hope so. I put out for you here, third page, startup budget and expenditure for getting it thing going. It's just basic. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but these are my estimates of what it would cost us to replace the golf carts, to buy the mowing equipment. And I must tell you, there has never been a piece of equipment out on the golf course that was worth a flip. It was always broken down or something, it didn't operate well. I would want if we were able to get new equipment. I imagine two zero-turn mowers for the fairways, a tractor and brush hog, a tractor with a
Loader.
Yeah, loader, and brush hog for the roughs, a couple of weed eaters, and a greens mower. Let's talk about the greens. When the year went by with no care for that golf course, the greens were absolutely a disaster, and are now. Probably the best solution, if we could sometime do it, is put in artificial greens such as Salida has, but I don't think we can do that up front. I think we're going to have to understand that we're going to have to rebuild those greens from scratch. I think we have some people with knowledge about that, some people who would help with that. But the greens, after all, are the heart of the golf course. And those greens in St. Andrews they've had dandelions in the middle of them. We've had to putt around. Well, anyway, it's going to be a big problem. In terms of the buildings, we have the golf course clubhouse. We have the pavilion. We have a shop of sorts and a couple of storage buildings. You get varying views about the condition of the golf course clubhouse. Some say, well, that'll be torn down, it's no good, it's got black mold. I'm not in that camp. Why? Well, it has the only bathrooms available. I don't think the clubhouse is really that much of a disaster. The kitchen has been stripped out. If we wanted to serve meals there, we would have to buy. And I called a young lady who used to work out there.
They were in business until a year ago, is that right, or 2 years?
A year.
A year ago, right?
1 year. And she said we would need a kitchen, fryer, an indoor grill, a microwave, refrigerator, and freezer to put that kitchen in some working order. I took that about $7,000, assuming we might be able to get some used restaurant equipment. There are people who do that. And we need a little furniture because they took the tables and chairs out of there. But seed, fertilizer, herbicides are going to be a big deal. And you got to get that right away and get going on it. The water meter. The water meter was taken out by Walker. I don't know why. They, the Water Commission doesn't know why.
They didn't want to pay the bill.
Well, they don't have a bill, they don't water. But there's a sign on the pump says no water to be taken out of here in order of the, just because they don't have a meter.
On the order of the owners, that sign is placed there, or?
No, on the order of the Water Commissioner.
Can't use it because they can't meter
That's it.
right now.
So you have to buy a meter, and I think it's $150 to get one of those. Then, you don't know what winter has done to those lines for watering. Watering is such an essential part of a golf course. John Decker knows that system. He tells me it was a good system, but if it needs repair, it needs repair. That's all there is to that. So I considered that and want to make sure that that part, as it is for the greens, to be taken care of. Then there's the operation expense. The plumbing, I think, will have to be done. Clubhouse is going to have to be repaired. Advertising, there's a liability insurance policy you want to buy right up front. Utilities and supplies. That all comes to $74,350. That money.
Be really clear on what you're going to say. You have that money raised.
Have that money arranged. Now, after we do that, can we keep St. Andrews going on its own? I think the unequivocal answer to that is yes. Coy, you were at one time managing the golf course. Perhaps you could address that issue.
Kind of build on a little bit of what Jerry said. John Manson built the golf course over 20 years ago. The Peterson, Dave and Darlene ran it for several years successfully. Walker bought it, and the first year he had it, he brought a pro up from down south, Carolina and Georgia, and it was kind of a disaster. And I kind of came in following him for 2.5 years, managed the golf course, and we had, I think, some significant success. Virtually no help from Walker. It was extremely low on his priority list. And he was a very controlled person. No one could write a check on it but him, and he made every decision. And so I think the reality of it was we accomplished quite a little bit without a lot of support from Denver. The 2.5 years I had it, we had somewhere around 60 local members of the golf course. We had a Tuesday men's group, about 18 to 20 men that came out and played golf every Tuesday, and we had a ladies golf group on Wednesdays, about 10 or 12 ladies. We had a businessmen's group. As Jerry said, Dr. Marcus had the youth group, which was extremely successful. The kitchen more than held its own. We did banquets for weddings and family reunions and anniversaries and catered them. We did quite a little bit in golf tournaments. We had 5 or 6 golf tournaments each year, the Rotary being one of the big ones. And we had one that for several years, I don't think we've had it in the last few years, of a memorial tournament from a group out of Canyon City. We had over 50 golfers, brought over 100 people up there, and they spent money like you couldn't believe. The other aspect of it, interestingly enough, a lot of our golfing came from other communities around us. Our motto was the most relaxing golf in Colorado. We had people come from Colorado Springs, Salida, Pueblo, Canyon City, regulars. And then the other aspect of it was we get a lot of visitors here in the summertime. and I went out to Horn Creek and all the bed and breakfasts, and I made a little deal for them that all of their visitors got a discount for being there, and that was very successful. You know, just sold on it. We more than met expenses. Now, when Walker charged us rent and charged us allocation fees from Denver and all that, it evaporated the profit from it. But
Hold that thought before you
Yeah.
go for it. You don't have it here, but you've got income, you said. What was the operating expense? You said more than covered it.
you know, from memory, and this was over 10 years ago, I don't have those figures in my head. I know that Manuel came out one time with a financial packet, and we went over it, and we were ahead by about $14,000. So that was mid-year. There at one time, we had a significant number of members and a loyal following there. Now, it had, after I left, my wife had some medical issues, and I left in the middle of the year. And I know that it did deteriorate significantly after that. But at one time, we were meeting, the reality of it is, you did not service debt on a mortgage and take a living out of there and make a profit. But if you didn't have a mortgage and you weren't trying to take a living out of there, and you were paying for the personnel, the groundskeepers and the clubhouse people, and keeping up your greens, it could meet its own. And I suspect, and this is just belief without hard figures, that it would not only support itself, but would have a small profit if you didn't have debt or try to take a living out of it. And thank you guys for your time. Thank you, I hope, for your support. And, appreciate you. Thanks.
This last page that you had before you is, I can't tell you it's hard fact at all. It's as best as can be done. There's no overbluff on this, except, well, I just have to take what I was told. There were about 7 months of operation in 2016, from about April to September, maybe a little bit into October. 4 of those months were really good months and would average $30,000 a month. And the other 3 were more restrained, but let's say half, about $15,000 a month. That was $165,000 for that year.
Did they keep operating the restaurant?
Yes. In the $165,000 is food, catering, the pavilion rental, alcohol sales, candy, driving range, all of these assets, plus golfer fees. She indicated to me that golfer fees were a significant part of that. But the rest was, because that pavilion has been a very interesting facility for the community. They have weddings out there, all kinds of things that go on. And it's a nice place. It doesn't have any water, no facilities to it at all. There was talk about, well, let's make that the clubhouse. I don't know how you do that. No. Any event, the flowers out there were beautiful, and around the clubhouse. It was a very pleasant place to be and to go. The golfers' participation, of course, I've already gone through that. I won't tell you that this was true in his time. It's true now. We have the Tuesday group. We had the Wednesday Business League. We had the Thursday couples. A core group of people, men and women, and they're still here with no place to go. I know Leonard takes a group of about 8 people off to
to Holly Dot or Sumo or 4 Mile every week. That's a crying shame, I'll tell you. It really is.
And the other funny thing is, I came up for over 20 years before I moved here. I never knew we had a golf course. Was it just a secret? Was just a few people knew about it? There was no signs coming into town, no sign on the highway in front of it. And there's money that can be put into that just for the golf course. 4 Mile is in question. They have portable buildings for a clubhouse. And we don't have to waste a whole lot of money on getting that golf course back, because if you get the golf course back, that'll bring the people back, that'll get someone interested in opening a restaurant, and it should bring everything around. And the pavilion's safe because there's no water in it, it can't freeze the must. So anyway, but we need to, it's important to this community to have that. There is people here that don't know there's one here that would like to have one, and then there's a fellow in the back of the room said he wouldn't even be here if he knew there wasn't going to be a golf course. But he's already here, so we got it.
Anyway, gentlemen, you've been very kind to hear the presentation. I know you have some questions. It's your turn.
Thank you, sir, appreciate that.
Thanks, Jerry.
Questions, comments?
So Bob probably has the answer to this. What's the timing? You got people looking to buy, and,
That's correct.
and how would we tie it up if we could? And is it possible? And where are you with this thing?
Okay, what you're gonna have to do is put together a contract, an offer. It's gonna have to be submitted up to the present owners, along with earnest money. And then you can put your various contingencies in there that you need. And then it's up to the seller to take a look at all those contingencies and see if that's something that they want to go with.
And the seller is the mortgage company or
The
whatever?
mortgage company that bought the mortgage from the original lender. So these people did not have the original one. They purchased that, and now they are the ones that.
Are they a local outfit in the Springs, or where are they? The mortgage company.
Mortgage company, Denver and Boston.
And can you give us the name of that company, Bob?
Maybe.
I'm not gonna give it to you right offhand, but I'll give it to you, Commissioner.
Okay.
I think he had it in here, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
I missed it if it is.
There's 2 different names, so.
Well, maybe I didn't. I'm
I
sorry.
thought maybe you mentioned it. Isn't that-
I mentioned it.
Mr. Prince?
I got a problem, and I'm really sorry, because I know you all want me to go. Great idea, let's go. My problem is the startup and getting it up and running. I know you're gonna raise the money. My real fear will be, over time, if there's a deficit that the golf course has to cover, where will that money come from? So my feeling would be, and I don't speak for my other commissioners, my feeling would be if you formed your nonprofit, or profit, I don't really care, probably nonprofit so you can get your grants, and you ask the county commissioners to support this organization as a signator on the grant applications, and we've done this many times before with nonprofits, I would have no issue with this. I'm very concerned about the county owning this property because while it may be profitable today and tomorrow down the road, we don't know. The county, as I'm sure you all know, has very significant needs. We have a landfill that's going to need a very significant amount of money. This building is in very poor condition. We're looking at potentially building a justice center, which is something that we absolutely need. So my mind is going back and forth, going needs versus wants, recreation versus necessity. And I know, and I know you, almost everybody in this room I know, and I'm not going to blow smoke and tell you this is a great idea, let's go. I have strong concerns about the county being an owner of a recreational facility without some assurances that the county will not be straddled with any down the road expenses. So if it was an alternative organization running the operation and needed county support, do we approve of this? Do we think it's a good idea? Will it help our county? I, for one, would sign off on that instantly, and I'm just gonna take a guess that my co-commissioners would also. But my concern is ownership, and I'll just have to be frank with you.
Well, let me address that, Jay, because if the nonprofit takes use from you, you would be, I mentioned liability insurance, you would be held harmless for anything. If it became a complete financial flop, gave up, what a disaster that would be. You own 133 acres clear, you can sell it.
Without a liability or potential liability to the county, I would certainly be in favor of discussing this further and figuring out how it could be done.
Well, as much as a contract can give that to the county, that would be in the lease.
You and I know that that's a problem.
But again, that liability insurance would be there for that.
Yeah. Okay, that's my concern, and I just wanted to voice it up front, just tell you where my mind is.
I'll just echo the same thing. We do have a problem with the county money. He mentioned a lot of the big issues we got. But this is a great idea. I'm 100% behind figuring out how to handle it and coming up with a plan. Right now you gave us a nice presentation. We got to put some meat to it to understand what it really is and what the contract is, how Bob can hold it, what the stipulations we need in the contract, if he's gonna, what's the right, if there is a down payment, who's coming up with that, which maybe is part of your operating funds that you have to borrow against that you've already got raised, or the startup funds, whatever it is. So I'm all for you coming back with another look at it. If you get you've got a lot of help here. Get people organized, get them looking at the lease, get them looking at grants or sources. What kind of you mentioned nonprofit you've got set up, and how would we structure that? Those kinds of things I think we would need, as well as a better number. We're going to have to submit grants that are going to have to show what the operating. They want to know what the they don't want grant money if it's going to be immediately going broke. So we got to convince them we got a business case of some kind, and I know you've got some records and people can stand tall on it, and this is from my point of view, the center of the recreational universe here in Custer County. I mean, we've got lots of neat things here that bring people in, and I don't know why they didn't have signs up. That's a cheap thing. There are things that the county can do later to help. We'll plow the snow up to the road and open up the driveway. That kind of stuff that we can do out of Hyde. Helping with the signage, doing some labor, that kind of stuff that we can pull as we see what the budget can support throughout the year. So there's options, but we need to have sort of a plan in front of us. This is a great start. Tom, over to you.
Well, one, I want to thank you. Obviously, Gary, you've taken the lead on this. There's been a ton of time and energy and probably adequate or more than adequate amount of expense that you and your cronies have incurred. I understand that.
It's cronies in a loving way. Tom talks like
we know, Tom.
Let it go.
I'll stick with cronies because I played golf with most of them. So I appreciate your work and your effort and the concern and the desire to keep this asset in this county. Before I share with you some thoughts, I want to give you a little background for me so that you understand where I'm coming from. Randy Rusk and I, at the behest of John Manson, took swathers out there and we swathed in the original fairways in that piece of property. So I think I can say I've been involved with that from the beginning. There are years when I wasn't involved for some very specific reasons, and And you've alluded to one of them, and that was the condition of that golf course. When it got to the point where I decided I'd rather drive somewhere else and play golf, then I quit playing golf up here. But from the very beginning, I at some point was involved in that. So, and I say that because I want you to understand that there's a huge part of me that loves the game of golf. From old people to 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. My grandkids have gone out there and run those golf courses or golf carts around and whack the ball. So, and I think you all know that. You kind of know where I come from when it comes to playing golf. I've got a water meter. I probably couldn't find it, but Dave and Darlene asked me to bronze weld one of their meters, and I did. And then right when I got it done, ownership changed, things changed. Well, Craig Walker said, no, don't need it, we're good. I've been in Craig Walker's home in Denver. I'm friends with him. I do not agree how he ran this particular part of his business. So the comments that I'm going to give you are based on some background that I've had. It's not like I'm sitting up here as a commissioner, but I don't give a rat's behind about golf. So I'm going to tell you what I think. I want you to understand where I come from as an individual. I've got some issues with this golf course in Custer County, and I think I'll articulate them. You already know this. Nothing that I'm going to tell you is a surprise. There are not enough golfers in this county to support that golf course. Can we attract enough golfers? I don't know that. But I do know there are not enough golfers in this county to support that golf course. I visited with the owner and the owner's real estate rep of the golf course in Woodland Park, where I play sometimes, not frequently, but I do play up there. It's a great golf course. There's a guy in California that owns that course. There was a Japanese contingent that owned it prior to him. He is not a golfer, he's an investor, and they are looking at turning up. Who's played on that golf course at Woodland Park? Anybody played on that? Okay, great course, great setting. They are considering tearing out the back 9 and converting the front 9 to a par 6 executive course. And he's considering that from guidance of his professional golf advisors, because they truly believe the golf industry in the U.S. is going to change in the next 20 years. They truly believe people are not going to X out 4 to 5 hours to play 18 holes of golf. They do think there's a serious market for people to run out and in 2.5 hours play some golf and get back to their daily lives. I actually kind of agree with that. I realize to leave here, Mr. Leonard, and to go play 18 holes of golf, you can kiss one day right in the behind because it's gone. And that is what I do not like. I love the 4 Mile golf course. I don't like driving down there to play it. It just tears up the full day. I think there's some holes in your presentation. And it's not your fault. I understand you're not going to get empirical data from anybody that's on that golf course in the last 20 years. It's probably not available. If it is, then you should have gotten it, and I'll be disappointed that you didn't. But you stood right here and said it's very difficult to get a handle on that. We're talking about a business. We're not talking about an opportunity for us to go do what we enjoy. You're bringing a business proposition to us. That's all it is. From this side of the table, in my opinion, as much as I love to hit the white ball. So if you look at this from a business standpoint, obviously, you brought them up. If we got issues with title, that'll chase off about 95% of any potential investors.
No, it won't.
But until that gets resolved,
That will be resolved. It will.
but initially they'd say, I don't want anything to do with it until you get this title thing resolved. I get that. I have serious concerns about the water rights on that property. I'm not going to make a bunch of ignorant statements about water rights because I'm not as well versed as I could be and probably should be. I don't believe, and the gentleman's probably more well versed in water than anybody in the county, standing back there, so I'll ask you, are those junior rights or senior rights are you aware of to that property?
Both.
Both, okay. And if you take that at face value, say good. If the junior rights outweigh the senior rights, then I would maintain there's probably not enough water to run that golf course. You've alluded to the condition of the infrastructure out there, and that's going to be difficult to get a handle on. You won't know that till you start pumping water through those lines and those sprinklers and find out what's been frozen and broken and what sprinklers have been robbed for the brass price of scrap iron and so on and so forth. You did speak to the greens. I also spoke to the people at Salida Golf Course, and those are not artificial greens.
One of them is.
Could be. I just said, do you have artificial greens up there? And they said, no. That's all I'm going on. I haven't played there. Have you guys played at Salida to countermand that? But I drove by it several times in the last month, and certainly from the north road they appeared to be grass greens. You and I have had this conversation about artificial greens. In my opinion, the last thing this county needs from a financial perspective right now is to own any more land. I believe you're going to probably see the commissioners approach and consider trying to sell some land, because we have got some financial situations in front of us that we, I think, have decided we are going to try to deal with. We believe that prior commissioners chose not to deal with some needs of this county, either politically or financially. I've got my opinions about that, but I'll keep those to myself. So I get it when you say at the end, if everything goes south, you're going to own 133 acres. I understand what you're saying, sir. In my opinion, we do not need to own 133 acres. If we are to authorize and act as signatories for grants, I'm not speaking illegally, I'm speaking about on the surface from my perspective as a commissioner. Just like that, we are now in the golf course business. It's already happened to us once, and I think it would probably happen to us again. Because if we say to you today or in the future, you know what, we'll support this effort and we'll be your granting agency and you get $1 million grant, what are we going to do? Tell you we don't want it because we don't want to be in the golf course business? We'd be hung from the yard on. So I've got some concerns about just sitting here today and saying, yeah, you know what, this is a good idea. We'll support your grant efforts and we'll sign off on those because we're an entity that can do that. That would put us in bed with this project overnight if you got a grant. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't agree.
Okay, but do you understand, Mr. Pickle, where I'm coming from?
In part. It's true, you would have your name on a grant, and the grant would be used to purchase a golf course. But at that point, what we were proposing, the liability to the county ceases. It becomes, if there's grants to be given them to the Custer County Golf Association. It may be that a for-profit would like to come in and take that and feel they can make money with it. Then you can lease it for a fee and keep it that way. But I don't understand, I really don't, why you're saying this is a financial impediment.
Well, I would challenge you then to contact any small community comparable to our size in the state. If you guys can sit here and tell me that in a community of our size that you think a golf course is a moneymaker, I will be quiet and you tell me that. I'm listening.
We've not told you that it's a moneymaker.
Okay.
We've told you that it will carry its weight.
Based on the data I've seen today and my experience in the golfing industry, I would take issue with that, sir. I have talked to several people, not just casual people I run into the street. But people that are involved, heavily golfers, have been involved in golf courses and golf clubs and to a T. They have said to me, Tom, if you are given the golf course, you can't make money with it. It'll drive you into bankruptcy. And I don't like hearing that. Trust me, I don't like hearing that. Why is not this golf course up and running today? It's not from poor management. That's not what drove it into the weeds. It's a financial concern. I'm not going to discount management may have had a part of that, but that is a financial problem out there. That is not a people problem.
But Commissioner Walker did not file bankruptcy because of the golf course.
No, I understand that. I understand that. He didn't want to dump any money into it because he couldn't make any money.
It was struggling along.
Yeah,
Like
long before.
In the condition, and it would still be struggling along if Walker had not went into this financial problem of his own. We don't see rose-colored glasses either. We're not suggesting that the golf course will ever be a great money maker. We do think, and I think we have a foundation for this, that it will pay its own way, more than. Like Leonard said, he didn't even know there was a golf course. And I think that we can change that.
I'm not posturing, trust me, I'm not doing this to make me look good or bad. I'm trying to be honest with you. I played golf out there with guys that didn't know and teed off from out of town, and I teed off with them, and they said, where is the number one hole? We do have people come up here, did have people come up here from out of town and play golf. I understand that. $1,000 advertising budget will barely get you an ad in either one of these two papers for more than a month. It won't buy you a sign. It won't. I'll bet if you had $50,000, your advertising budget would be questioned from a business perspective. To advertise this business to bring people in from all over the state of Colorado. And I'm just shooting my mouth off there. I don't know that. But there's a reason we're not playing golf out there this summer. And I think it's financial. I think it's a poor business opportunity unless you had $3 or $4 million to pour into it. And then, how many golfing rounds a month are we going to sell out there? Now, Woodland Park says it takes 1,000 rounds of golf a month to keep those doors open. Totally different scenario. But we're not talking about 60 rounds of golf a month. That won't do it. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. What do you pay at Holly Dock, Leonard? And I understand. I'm crowding on this around.
I don't know how they, what is it, $28? Yeah. How do they stay open for that?
Yeah, 40 at 4 Mile.
It's higher than that. It's
75 at the golf course we play at in Woodland Park. Golfing is also becoming a rich man's sport. It is not. In West Cliff, okay, but I'm talking about in the western part of the United States, that is not a common person's sport anymore. You better have some money in your pocket. Go ahead, sir. I apologize.
You're on a roll.
I'm emotional. I'm emotional about this.
Why don't you tell us what you think?
I will, given a little more time.
Okay, the only thing I have, and respectfully, I take exception to one thing you said, that it's a business decision. And I think it's more than that because it's an economic development decision also.
Which is business. But go ahead. Yeah.
Hang on. We don't know the impact of the people who come to play golf from outside our area, who go to our hotels and our restaurants and go to our shops and spend money, and it helps an economic development. I am not certain we, the county, needs to be an owner in this process. I think a sponsorship of we endorse the idea for another entity to own it, control it, manage it, and everything else that goes along with it. I don't think I have a real problem with that as long as I know that the county is not in any way on the hook for when some disaster occurs. I've played out there many times, And I'll tell you, the biggest fear for me is getting bit by a rattlesnake. That's really the truth, okay? So, but the bottom line is, if we have financially minimal or zero liability, and I look at it as not just we're helping someone else run their business, I'm looking at it as an economic development opportunity. I think I could probably support this if I had the assurances that the county was not financially on the hook. I agree with you, I do not want to own another 133 acres. Just in my mind, over $500,000 for 133 acres on the valley floor seems like a lot, but I'll leave that to the experts to tell me whether that's a reasonable number or not. I don't know. Regardless, I could support this if we don't have the liability from the economic development point of view.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and then I'll give Commissioner Kanda an opportunity to speak before I speak again. I've laid out what I think the problems are. I've also got some ideas and suggestions. I'm not just going to throw water on it and turn around and walk out of here. So I'd like to also have an opportunity to throw out some ideas before this meeting's over today. But
Okay, yeah, let me say a couple things. So I agree, Tom's got some good points, so does Jay, and I made a few already. We do, I want to correct Tom on one thing. We have obligations, we have investments this county has to make for our future. One's the landfill, I mentioned that, Justice Center, other things. And we are working this broadband deal, which I have told everybody, and everybody knows how we stand as a board. It will not cost this county one dime, and when it does, we're going to stop. Because we got the same presentation, basically. We'll get renters, we'll have a lease, it'll cover the cost of maintaining the roads that we have to do, that kind of stuff. So we have that worry, and guess what? We've been nickeled and dimed a little bit on that already with some economic money that we already had, which upset me. So that's why I'm all for the idea of doing this. I'm not for making a vote today to go do it. Don't expect that. I would want you guys to come back with a presentation and what we would want to present for us to agree to, like an ironclad lease, an ironclad whatever. The cost is going to be, and I'm willing to gamble on it as long as the landowner of that time can sell it. And Bob will know better. This is prime ground down there. There's no question about it. It's great for hayland, if nothing else. It's prime. I worked on that ranch as a kid. My dad also golfed there when they made it a golf course. He was a great golfer. He died not long after it was built, but not because of the golf exercise. So I think we can come back. I want to hear your input too. I mean, we have public comment on anything that's presented, and you guys will all get a chance to echo it, and come back with how we're going to handle like the down payment. How would we get the lease covered? I like the operational expenses being covered, but then you got to make sure that the business case says it supports what Tom brought up. How do you maintain those greens for 7 months out of the year? Let the restaurant own itself, and fine if it closes its door during the winter, that's up to them. But we need it is a business decision to some extent. And I also agree it's a good income maker for other reasons to attract people up here to this valley. And I heard a couple people say the only reason I wish we'd have known, and a couple people said I came up here because you had a golf course. So that's where I stand right now. I don't want to be put on the spot to say yes or no. I'm on the spot to say yes, give me the rest of what we need to present what a case we can get a hold of, knowing the issues that we have right now.
I'll echo what you said. I agree with what you said.
I played golf with my friends back there in the corner from Arizona when they lived in Arizona. Great little golf course, had a great time. In this realm, probably two of the wisest people I know back there or luckiest, because they sold their property down there, and I don't know, maybe within 2 months that the golf course closed.
Yeah, it closed
shortly after. let's say
shortly
that.
after we sold our house.
Sad. It
Yeah.
kills me to drive by a golf course that's been closed. The one in Canyon City, it still pulls my heartstrings, man, because we love to play down there. And as you may know, a group of investors bought that golf course. They had invested over $1 million in the building and the swimming pool, and those investors, I believe, bought it for $1 million and kept it open for 2 years, and it crashed. And now the deer and the elk are down there wintering, and it is sad. I just cannot help but think those are results of being a poor business plan, business action, I don't know. My wife and I have had this conversation, and I suggested to her when the course was still open, you know what we need to do? We need to get 9 families and have each family sponsor a golf hole. Not the fertilizing, but certainly the mowing, the weed eating, the upkeep on a hole, have a contest at the end of the year. What was your most favorite hole to play in the golf course? Bring your own lawnmower, 0-turn mower. I told my wife, I said, I've got a tractor, a brush hog, backhoe, and 0-turn mower. I would take those to the golf course and maintain a hole. And of course, then the backhoe and the tractor. The backhoe could be used by the golf course. I agree. Equipment's a huge thing for that golf course out there. And you're right, man. They had some of the most ratty equipment that had to be on the planet. The other thing I do want to throw water back onto it, I've asked around the average cost to build and maintain a green, $20,000 a piece. And if you played out there, you know that was the downfall of that golf course, was the quality of those greens. I played on pastures. I'll bet I played on every sand green golf course in eastern Colorado, west of the Rockies. And people will hit off of cow pastures, but they, with the exception of the sand green genre, they want to have a nice green to play on. And I don't see that happening. It could. It has to be able to happen because it happens in mountain communities a heck of a lot higher in elevation than we are. So it can happen, but I come back to the only way that can happen, you've got to throw money at it till you're blue in the face. Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready for comments?
Certainly. I think this is open for.
I have no problem.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I wasn't here for this. I didn't know it was going to happen, but you have an unexpected supporter here. I think one of the main things, and I've heard it through all the years I've been here, many, that people came here because it was the St. Andrews golf course. That was the draw. And people bought cabins here so they could do their golf course circuit around Colorado. I think you have a chance. I agree with you that it needs a little bit more detail on the business plan. I agree with Jay that it can be done the way with no liability. So I don't want you to be discouraged because I think it's a good thing. And look at your demographic projections. Retirement. If they have a golf course to come to, there's a draw. There's ways to advertise and get into places without spending a ton of money. You have to be careful where you put it. But some of them will do it, like featuring an article in the links or something like that. So I really do want to encourage you. I think you have a great idea. I think it's feasible. It could tie even into some of the tourism dollars. It brings in tourism. It brings in people wanting to move here. There's a lot of marketing ideas that you could do with it. I lived in a neighborhood that had a 9-hole golf course, 3-park, for 30 years. People were on waiting lists to buy in that neighborhood. It was sustainable. They had a low, very low, $300 a year fee for a single person, $500 for a family. They were able to make it. And so if you want the name of that place, I'd be happy to give it to you. But I don't agree that, Yeah, time for future generations may go away, but they're living in smaller places and they get out more. So I think there's a caveat to that also. So I would encourage you to pursue this.
Yeah, I want to encourage you, and I will help you personally, not as a commissioner, but I'll be sitting in the crony. I don't have a problem with that. I hope you understand that I want to be playing golf in Custer County. I believe that if you had a group today sitting here and said, we're the group, will you support us because we can go after grant money? Can we get a letter of support? I'll guarantee you my name is on it. Ownership? Probably not.
Tom?
Yes.
You know, there's another option without the county actually owning this. It could be a fiscal sponsorship agreement with a nonprofit entity.
Yeah,
And
with another organization,
with
correct?
yeah. I mean, the county could be the fiscal sponsor with an agreement. I just drew one up for Trails for All. We need a fiscal sponsor for the time being until we incorporate. And it would, I think it would serve the same purpose. I think with the county as the fiscal sponsor, you may be allowed to get grants. I may be wrong on that, but if you could get these same grants with the county as the fiscal sponsor, but the county doesn't end up owning it, that it would be your nonprofit that would be the ownership. That would be.
And that's what I'm saying. I would support that. No problem. Mr. Shock.
I think we did this at the one of the towns I lived in. We owned the golf course already. The members did, and we gave it to the city. And the reason we did that is grants were available that you cannot get as a private entity, as even a nonprofit, that a Parks and Recreation type of grants could get. I think that's one of the reasons Jerry's talking of this, is doing that. I think there's two things that concern me. One, if you go out to the golf course now and look across the street, what's already growing across the street. If you haven't been out there, you need to see that, because they're going to buy up land and water as quick as they can and do more of that. And if we don't do something with this golf course, we're going to end up like I hear news all the time of Conquistador. We're going to sit here and we're going to look up there at that hill and say, there's a dead ski run, there's a dead golf course, there's something else. And it is, to me, more than just, it is an economic development thing. There are people, I played golf all my life. My daughter went to college, played golf. My wife plays golf. We have not played here at all because, number one, the course was in bad shape, and number two, the course quit. It died. And so I have not played. I played out there 2 times, and those were in tournaments. But I think it's something economic development type of thing, and I know it isn't a business decision. We have to look at that too, but it's an economic development thing for our community. There are people that will come to play golf. If this internet thing comes in, you're going to be bringing young families here that work from home. They're going to be looking for golf course. They're going to be looking to go to the lake. We've already shut the lake down now that you have to have permits and you have to have this and that. You can't have boats on there anymore that do jet skis and all that. So that cut some economic development down for us, and I know that's whoever decision that was. But I'm just saying we've got to look at how can we provide things that will allow people to say, hey, recreation. I know there's a group right now trying to work on the trails to say we need bike trails, we need ATV trails, we need things, because there's people that drive through, and I watch them come and they fill up their ATVs at Shell Station every single day and drive on out, going somewhere else. And those people could be here dropping money into our community.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't try to attempt the economic development argument. I would guess the average carload of people that would come here to play golf are probably not going to spend the night. I think they will come to this valley, play golf, and go home. I grew up in a Chamber of Commerce economic development family, so I don't want to make ignorant statements. But for us to sit here and pat each other on the back and feel good about, boy, this is going to be a great economic, as far as people coming in, staying in restaurants, staying overnight, I think they're going to come here and play golf and go home. That's what I think. You all may think differently. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I want you to know how I feel about it and what I think about it. Are there gonna be times when they'll, hey, we're here, let's go down Main Street? Certainly there are. But I go play golf in Woodland Park, I go up there to play golf and I come home. I go to 4 Mile, I play golf and come home. I used to love to go to Levita. We played golf and we got home. We might have stopped and bought a 6-pack of beer. That was it. I'm just going off of my personal experience there. I don't know what drove that golf course down there in Levita into the ground. But that was another very, very sad situation. That was a fun course to play down there.
I gotta make a comment. What kind of golfer are you that doesn't only 1 6-pack of beer? That is just not my experience.
In those days, because I don't,
You were on the Boy Scout.
I don't drink now. I meant 1 6-pack per person, so that's a case to get home from.
It just never happens.
I would encourage you to try, Mr. Pickerel, and again, personally, I would sign up to help you, is to find an organization besides the county to move forward. I do need to say this, and I got yelled about it yesterday and was called all kinds of names because I'm a money-spending idiot sitting now as a county commissioner. All I want to do is spend money. That landfill is going to be a serious concern. And there's no recreation about that. We're talking about a recreational business with the golf course. That is county business that is going to have to be addressed. We've got 5.5 years of lifespan left on our existing facility out there. We have enough land. We're in the process. We met yesterday. We're trying to get the rest of that property permitted so that, based on the information and the people we've talked to from the Colorado Department of Health and Environment, would gain us between 60 and 75 more years of having a landfill in this county. That need has to be addressed. When you leave, walk around this courthouse and just look at the exterior of the courthouse to get an idea of where we're at and what kind of a facility we're in. Look where we're meeting. The ventilation's terrible. The lighting's good, the birds sound nice, we don't have any fire, we don't have ADA. We have got to do something as a county for our county facilities. We're in great shape in this courthouse compared to the sheriff's office. That place is falling down around their ears. I didn't realize that until I got involved as a commissioner. I'll say it, and then I don't have to walk out of here going, I wish I'd have been honest with these people. We got more pressing financial matters than the golf course for this county. Doesn't mean we couldn't find a way to do them all. But when you start talking about fiscal responsibility, man, we're up against it in a couple of areas.
But you did say, if we're not financially liable, you would be more inclined
Yes.
to, I'm not saying you will support it, but you'd be more inclined to support it if the obligation to the county is 0 or close to it.
I would. And let me tell you about my hesitancy there. Yeah. Let me finish this statement. And then, Commissioner Cannon and I sat in the very first meeting when we got sworn in, and we were confronted with a request. Will you support us to write a grant? We need somebody to sign these grants. And we said, yeah, we'll do that. Commissioner Candace said, as long as it does not cost the county anything. I'm talking about the broadband. It's not a secret. And Economic Development Corporation said, absolutely. It's not going to cost you anything. We're going after a grant. Yesterday, we voted to spend $9,500. And we didn't want to vote that way. But we felt like we had to try to get ourselves in a position to get another $1 million grant, which I think we're going to get. But you see where my hesitancy comes from to sit here today and say, yeah, we'll do your granting thing. The next thing you know, man, there is a good chance we're going to own a golf course and we're going to be paying to keep the thing up and running. And then, where are we?
But what we do need to do, we've mentioned it, come back to us. You've heard the arguments. We don't need to beat a dead horse. You guys, I want to hear more about it, and I think it's Jerry, I admire you. Jerry's I don't know what you guys know about what he's been doing, but he's been hitting us off and on, me, and we've been sitting down and working this. We all think it's a neat idea, it's a good thing to have for the county, but we gotta figure out what that good is, you know, how we support it. And there are different options, and the neat thing is, a bunch of us makes a better decision than one guy or two with here's what it's gonna be. You all have great ideas. I heard even our good lawyer over here coming up with another angle. You just gotta get the juices flowing, so please do that. Don't be discouraged. It's my personal view. So I really appreciate what you've done, Jerry.
The only thing I would ask you to imagine is not the disastrous conclusion of the golf course. But if it continues as I know it would do, 10 years from now you'll have a golf course.
I desperately hope. I hope in 2 years we have.
And unless we take that chance now, we will not.
And I guess my final comment would be, as a commissioner, I'm not in the chance taking business on this golf course. I will help you all I can, but I just cannot vote to put this county in jeopardy of owning a golf course. I'll help you any other way I can, and I'll take my shots from you, personally or whatever. I don't care. I'm fine with that, but I'm trying to be honest and tell you where I'm coming from. That's all I know what to do.
And I'm very impressed. You guys rallied. It's a pretty big rally. Surprised me. I didn't. Who knew? But there's got to be others out there too. I'm sure you all have other friends and ways and other thoughts on how to raise money to get this started and figure out how to get the grant and help us help you get the grant.
If there was if there was a for-profit organization, could they sell shares?
Sure.
Even though we saw what happened down there in Custer, or in Fremont County, but there had to be something else going on with that golf course. That those shareholders ended up taking a hit for $100 grand a piece. There were 10 of those guys that put up $100,000 a piece. I'm certainly willing to continue this conversation. I've been asked if we can take a quick bathroom break. We've been sitting here since 9. So if you guys want to continue and have a dialogue,
we ought to end it with so that they know we're not they don't need to come back. We're not going to vote on anything. We want you to come back with a plan. Okay.
Well,
that we can, if there is something that we need to.
I don't know that we want them to do that.
If your direction on where our mind is coming from, that might help you come up with
You're right.
something you could bring to us based upon how we feel about this idea. So,
well, I want to look at Kent's suggestion.
Fiscal sponsorship.
Sure.
If sponsorship allows us to get grants, that's all we need, really.
Yeah.
I am not at least a little bit discouraged, nor am I worried about whether the golf course is going to be a success. Because I've talked to all these people and 100 more who desperately feel the need to have that golf course. And I'm persuaded it's something we must do.
I
Now,
understand that.
the time limit here is urgent. Bob has a duty to his clients to make the best deal he can and get that golf course sold. It won't be a golf course unless the one buyer is successful.
I understand that, and I hope you guys understand that we can't function from that perspective alone. That, hey, you guys, we're in a time crunch. We need you to do something now. I mean, we'll put this county bankrupt so stinking quick. We'll be joining Archuleta County. So,
But let me ask you the next meeting.
You can get with
that would be April or May the 18th.
Yeah, middle of the month.
16th
in Wetmore.
Yeah, down in Wetmore. I'm certainly not opposed to continue having this conversation either today or at a subsequent meeting. Don't misrepresent or don't misunderstand
You have
me
a special
as a
meeting.
commissioner, but
but we do have another pressing issue right at this moment.
Understand.
Couple issues.
Can I be any more blunt?
You could ask him.
So-
So let's stand in recess for about 3 or 4 minutes.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, everybody's gonna
Move,
get
Lynn.
that's
Yeah.
right. So,
Make way.
yeah.
Make way, hurry.
Well, thank you for coming. I mean, don't leave. You don't have to leave. We can continue to have a dialogue, but thank you for being here. Yeah. We're touring. Where's everybody going?
With at San Francisco.
Last time, I set up a time to be our administrator for Johnny likes to sit in the council operations. So I was going to call him
Now I know what it's about. As long as you're fiscally responsible and there's no
Meeting back to order, please. Let the record show it's 11:34, May 2nd. We are at the point in our agenda of public comment, if there are any. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I apologize that I was out of town for your last couple of meetings. But I wanted to clarify, just for the record, government agencies are not allowed to participate in publicly participating in politics and elections, correct? Not correct?
That would be an attorney question. I can't answer that.
What are you talking about,
That's
participating?
a question.
Well, it's because of the presentation by Bob Tobin, and I feel like it was in violation because there are other parties in the hospital district election, and he was coming and distributing their materials that were passed out in a coffee form. So to me, that's electioneering. And asking for the commissioner's approval, I believe there was a small statement made that the incumbents were approved by Jay. And I just don't feel that that's in the spirit of the election and non-government agencies.
I'm sorry, what statement did you attribute to Commissioner Prince?
That he had said that he supported the incumbents to the hospital district.
I don't recall that.
I did say it.
Yeah, you were gone then.
So, since I wasn't here and I couldn't ask for that to be stricken, I would like at least a note put that was strike Jay's comments or whatever is appropriate. I don't know the right avenue. I could not find it in Robert's rules. I don't know why that was allowed to go on as a presentation and a conversation when it was political.
Okay, I did allow it as chairman. I allowed Tobin's presentation to be, we allowed the presentation to be on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I allowed him to continue to speak throughout his presentation.
So who put it on the agenda then? Did you
I think he called and asked to be put on, didn't you, Ms. Gady?
Okay, so maybe we should have vetted it. But I'll tell you this, I know from my point of view, this board cannot endorse any political candidate. I remember, Kelly, you came up in a meeting during the recall and made sure that people weren't wearing paraphernalia that represented the position. The Board of Commissioners can't endorse either the incumbents or the ones that are coming. Now, a private citizen can, all you want. And I know from a government point of view, and I've been in the government many years, they would never allow, you could not make a speech in a military or a civilian agency on endorsing anybody for office, ever. You could go and vote however you do, but it's because you can't have the government having the appearance of endorsing a certain agenda going down some path. So that's true.
Well, I'll comment on what I said. I did say what you said. I said they were talking about their accomplishments, and I said I think you did a very good job, and I endorse you for doing that.
Okay. I would say, number one, that Commissioner Prince used the word I. You did not use the word we.
Absolutely.
So I want that to be understood, that he was not speaking on behalf of the entire board. I don't know if it's legal or ethical or anything else for an individual commissioner in a public BOCC meeting to endorse or not endorse or whatever. I don't know that.
I endorse the work that they have done. I didn't endorse them as the incumbent party in an election. And that's the way it was taken. That's the way it was taken, but that certainly was not the intent.
Okay.
And if the papers then would make sure that it's corrected, that it wasn't an endorsement from a commissioner. I don't know if they're going to say that or not, but just for clarification.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. Because we are live streamed, expunging something or, well, not rescinding, if not rescinding, it would be expunging something from the record, can only be done from a digital and audio and a written record. It couldn't be expunged from a live stream audio is my point.
You have the same problem with retracting a statement in the paper. You print a retraction.
Yeah, it was unusual because the hospital district has never made a report to the Board of County Commissioners.
We have no jurisdiction.
Yeah, during the 4 years I've been here, and they've actually invited, Delwyn Lester in the past, and he
As did I, as a chairman.
And, but I realized after Bob Tolman was talking, it was sort of like a campaign speech a little bit, and I didn't want to be rude to him.
He kept saying, in spite of what you've heard.
Yes. So so he said his piece, and I didn't catch what Jay said.
I did say it.
But you all just listened to what he had to say without comment other than that comment. But I think it was probably inappropriate for him to use this forum.
What do you think, Tom? Is it appropriate for us to make sure that the world understands we don't support either the incumbents or the candidates, one way or the other, as a board?
Well, I think we'd have to go back to the legality where we're at with the legalese on what we can and can't do in that regard. I'm not capable to speak to that directly. Personally, as that presentation progressed, I felt clearly it was a political ploy. I don't think it was a political ploy to influence our 3 votes. I think it was an opportunity to get
in the
public eye as much as they could, or he could. I can't say they, I apologize for that. I don't know that even hindsight that I could gavel him out of order. I don't believe that that's the case. We could ask him not to, but I don't know of any legal statutes that anybody couldn't come in here and attempt to run a political ploy by us. I don't know, I keep looking at you from the legal standpoint.
Well, I mean, if they came in and started handing out campaign literature and everything else, we could certainly put a stop to that. This was done in a little different
right, on the agenda.
But all you can do is what you just said here is, Kelly, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I heard different than that. I heard a lot of, here's our accomplishment. Now, I grant you, it was definitely a political deal. But I heard, here are our accomplishments, here's how many people we served, here's what we've done. And I thought it was more of a report. And now I agree that it hasn't been done ever since I've been around. I've gone to many meetings before I was a commissioner. And when, is it Delwood or Delwyn? I'm sorry. Delwyn. When Delwyn was there, I know he never came, but I honestly thought it was more of a status report than a political thing. Now, when they gave out the flyers and stuff, I agree, it went over the edge, but I was interested to hear where they're staffing their doctors from and.
Well, that is interesting, but the timing of it just prior to the election coming up.
Yes. It had some appearances, let's put it that way.
No, I don't disagree with that.
Go ahead, Kim.
I was just gonna say from an electioneering standpoint, the reason I didn't say anything is because I'm not running that election. It's not taking place in this building, except for on Tuesday. We don't have any ballots going in or coming out.
Right.
And so, as far as an electioneering standpoint, only on Tuesday can we enforce that. So that's why we couldn't.
So, but the commissioners couldn't enforce that?
Enforce what?
That's up to.
Enforce not having a political presentation?
Yes.
To a government agency?
I don't know that.
I think we can, and just from my experience, you can take it for what it's worth. If you don't like it, I think we can go forward and get with the CCI guys and get a ruling. But we are government representatives elected by the people. We cannot stand up and endorse anybody.
Oh, you're speaking differently than what she just said.
No,
I do mean to interrupt you. You said endorse, and she said, can we prevent that from happening here? Those are 2 different things.
Well, I think we can stop it if they are.
That I don't believe it's appropriate to sit here and endorse.
Yes, right.
But I said I don't know about allowing that to happen, especially coming through an agenda. None of us knew that.
But in a way, in Robert's rules, if I had been here, you could go to the order of the agenda and you could have stopped the agenda item.
Certainly
So-
you could, but on what grounds? You
That
could
it
call
was-
for the orders
that
of the
it
day,
was
no problem.
political and presented to a government
We could
group.
table it.
It was my opinion that it was political, but I also agree with Commissioner Prince. There was information in there being provided to this board about a taxing entity of this county.
But they don't,
And Clint's right,
they
the
don't
timing was
report to you,
not
the
good.
timing
No.
was bad and their handout was political.
I can pull it out.
I know what the handout
I
looked
thought
like.
it, well,
Here's
I
the-
didn't look at that
Unaudited
as a
information.
political handout. Now, he was reading from a political handout, no
Yeah,
question.
he kept
I don't
holding up his
believe
flyer
it
for
would
the
be
election.
accurate to call that a political handout.
It doesn't
I'm not
mention
disagreeing with
candidates
where
or
you're coming
anything.
from.
But
and
Tom, he did always flash his folder that he was using.
I'm
saying,
not, I
this is
agree
mine.
with you, but I believe Ann was saying this was a political
It was
handout,
part of it.
and I don't believe this is.
It was given out at their coffee.
Well,
It's
doesn't
not
matter,
so.
doesn't matter where he's used it. I'm just trying to deal with
It's
facts.
unaudited facts. That is an unaudited report that was changed from the core financial information we got from the hospital.
Well, and this was an
So-
unaudited report that we received this morning,
Right.
but we still considered it, we looked at it, we discussed it.
That's not the,
I don't wanna argue the point, I agree with you that I think we were
Yeah.
set up. Not arguing that, but when you're starting to ask, can the chairman gavel somebody down, you better have exactly the right and correct reason to do that. I felt used and a little duped, personally.
okay.
But that does not give me the right as a chairman to gavel him down and put an end to it, or take him off of the agenda. He was put on the agenda to give a presentation about the medical clinic. In my opinion as a chair, that's a legitimate agenda request, and so we allowed that. Did it go a different direction? I believe it did.
I think even
Well,
some of
and
the
he was a
statements.
candidate. He is a candidate.
True, but he did not sit down and introduce himself as a candidate running for the medical board.
No, he didn't.
I just want to read you a little bit. I've studied on it. Go
Candidate
ahead.
also, I mean, just because you're a candidate doesn't preclude you from talking.
No. I just want to read this little excerpt. On extremely rare occasions when it is desired not only to rescind an action but also to express the strongest disapproval, a member may move to rescind and expunge from the record minutes, quote, parentheses, or the record. So it's not something that's just done lightly. That says to me, you better have, I don't mean you, I'm saying commissioners, better have very, very solid grounds to expunge something from the record. We'll never expunge the live streaming video.
All you can do is retract it in another meeting.
He could, but you can't force somebody to retract a statement. You can request that, but so I'm trying to make sure the lines are clear between what we feel and what is absolutely correct to do or not to do. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
And I think we're going in circles, because wound up being a political statement presented by political people and to a government agency. And that's not allowed in any government agency. So I don't see why it would be allowed here.
Okay, it was not allowed here.
Well, you listened.
Yes,
all the
what
way
was
through.
allowed was for a board member from the medical clinic get on the agenda, come before the board, and give a report. That was allowed. He never asked me to vote for him. He never handed me a button or any other political.
But what he did, there was some improper, in my belief, some improper statements he made about, despite what you've heard, he waved his flyer around that he's campaigning with. And so that is an issue that we could have probably told him not to be saying those things or whatever.
But did you say something
what
at
we
the
did,
time?
well, I didn't, just for the same reason you did. Why did you say what you did? But see, So what do we do after the fact now is the real
So what
issue
is it
here.
that you'd like us to
So,
do?
do we,
Well, just what I said, I would like it to, and I have stated it, so
On
it's
the
in the
record.
record,
Mhm.
and I would like the papers to know my position so that they're aware of
That's
how
fair.
they report it. And that accomplishes
that's
that,
fair.
and I hope in the
Nobody here
future.
tells any paper how to report anything.
No, I'm just
However you
asking
choose to
them,
report it is how you do.
I'm just asking
the
for
only thing
that.
we could do, Jay, is as a board, just to say, just to make a statement that, you know, we do not, you know, anybody can come and talk to us about the data, whether they're running for office or not. I do not campaign for my job. I never make a statement about that at all. And so we want to just make sure to be clear, we could make a generic statement that says this board doesn't endorse any candidate, one way or the other.
I have no issue with that at all.
I don't either, I don't even
That would
think
be a
that's
public
necessary
thing that the
for me,
paper would
but-
report, as well as maybe make the statement to make sure. But we did listen to some facts. That's a fact. We did.
Yeah, I don't think as a chairman I was incorrect in allowing him to continue. Had he gone a different direction, I would have probably said, you know, let's consult with our attorney if he's here. If not, I would make that decision. But I did not feel that. I certainly wasn't in tune to, oh, is he
Right.
gonna go political with us? So certainly was
And we
not.
learn as we go along. I think the next time somebody came in here and did the same thing, I think we would caution to begin with.
Well, I think that would be the fair word to
Sure,
use.
well,
Let-
we would
let
make,
us
and if they
remind you.
kept stumping, we would say, sorry, sir, you're out of order.
Yeah. But then, you know, it's where do you draw that line? If Commissioner Candace sat here in a board meeting and said, I know you guys know that I'm campaigning or that I'm running for election, he just did exactly what you're talking
And
about.
I would think he would be inappropriate in the commissioner board meeting.
Right.
I would agree. I'm not saying he would do that.
No,
but
I know,
it could
but
happen
in
just
your
that
Make sure you
quick.
know that.
Yeah, it could happen
And
that
it
quick.
never has, to my knowledge,
Right.
so.
Can I ask a
Yes.
question of Kelly?
Yeah.
If you were running this election, would that have been stopped, do you believe? I mean, it's just,
Now, when
it
you're
may
shaking
just
your
be,
head, I'm thinking you're meaning yes.
Maybe just give us your facts, your, whatever
Right.
was on that
Yeah.
report. Give us your facts and not.
Yeah, why are you here?
Not
Yeah,
throw
give us
in,
the facts.
just give.
yeah, and I won't quote you on that in any way. I
But
just
was he
curious.
electioneering in your opinion? Was he, I know we're not into that, but if we were, hypothetically,
It's not fair to put her on the
well,
spot.
that's what she does for a living, it's what we pay her to do. Would you have considered that electioneering and asked the chair to stop it?
I probably would have said,
Be-
some
be
of
careful.
your comments are not appropriate.
Because she
I think
certainly,
we've all said that, I mean,
Yeah.
all three of us
We're all
said that
agreeing.
we feel that,
So Ann,
aside
give
from
us something
facts,
to,
there was.
what would you like to see?
well, and to follow up on Kelly's comment, she asked me to take my county commissioner button off during the electioneering thing. So I'm not trying to be obstinate, but I do think it's a fair question. I mean, it was hypothetical.
I
We're
don't
not.
have any
Yeah.
issue with this question.
Yeah.
I think it's perfectly
Yeah.
appropriate.
So go ahead, Bill. You had a
No.
comment?
I was just making the same statement.
Okay.
I think that, I think Ann has a point.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, I don't have a problem saying this board doesn't endorse either candidates or incumbents, just as a statement. We received a nice presentation from the clinic. It was data facts, and it was not taken to be a endorsement of any of the people running for an election.
You know, I looked at that document yesterday, and I mean, I was probably pretty obvious in the questions I asked. I thought it was low-hanging fruit that he brought to us. It wasn't whether we could prove it was accurate or not. That wasn't the point. He offered to come give us a report. What he chooses to report and what he doesn't choose to report, that's up to anybody. We can't know that, but
Yeah.
the only way, and he certainly gave us the opportunity to ask questions, which we did. I tried to view that as a informative report from the medical clinic.
And I'll add, I did compliment their board for the accomplishments that he talked about. And I compliment a lot of people often because it's just my nature. And they do have new new physicians, they have new staff, they've gone through an upheaval, they're trying to bring order to it. I complimented them for that. If that's, that's just the way I am.
It certainly wasn't out of character. I've heard you compliment a lot of people coming before the board. The crime here would be
It's my nature, I'm sorry.
if you would not have been afforded the opportunity to have this discussion with the commissioners. That would have been the real crime. If we'd have just said, "No, we're not talking to you about that," then, so.
I wouldn't even ask.
Pardon?
I wouldn't even ask to come present before you because that's not appropriate.
Well, now we would, that would be totally.
Well,
Right.
and I get that. I personally, and as the chairman of the commission, I do not believe that he came here as a candidate to speak to us about him running for a board position or not.
That's your opinion.
Yeah,
And
that's
you-
what I
you
said. That's
that.
my
So
opinion. That's not.
I go with Clint's statement. The timing was
Timing was suspect. And the way he presented it, in my view. That's my opinion.
Some of the facts, I believe, were in question. But
That's.
Well, but
and
what
the
you were
pro-
asking for is accomplished now. You
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
it
so
on the
we
record,
don't
the
need to go
newspapers are
round
here,
and round.
it's been live streamed just
Yeah.
like the,
Right,
Yep.
and that's why I say the crime would be if she didn't have that opportunity
That's right.
to go on.
I think that's all you wanted.
We've
from
all got our
Exactly.
opinions on
Thank
record,
you.
so we're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Other
you.
public comment?
Jerry, you got more?
Only this, before we adjourn, sine die. I want to thank you for allowing this topic to be brought before you. I understand your positions very well. Don't necessarily agree with them, but understand them. I am encouraged by what Clint has told us about sponsorship. If that works out, the only thing you're going to see from me next is I really believe personally there's someone in this community who's willing to put out that much money to find him.
The question I would have for you moving forward, I personally believe as a commissioner, you would do us a favor if you allowed us to do due diligence and not bring a grant request to us and expect to sign it that day.
Well,
I think we need time to process and.
Well, yeah,
and
I think you need to present the
research
big
and-
picture to us and
Well,
let's figure out what that means.
I would think the grant itself would be most, would cover most of that. But I think the sponsorship issue you can resolve because it appeared to me you were all in agreement with that.
All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you again.
You bet. Other public comment before we adjourn? Hearing none?
Wait.
I do want to say something about the document though, because,
The document meaning?
well, the document that Tobin handed out.
Okay.
That is part of the financial record over at the clinic. They're not going to put fraudulent information out there, number one. That is all what was reported at the board meeting that I covered. So, they're not
Fair
going
enough.
to fraudulently report information. I just want to make sure and get that out there as well.
Thank you. Hearing no further public comment, I declare the meeting adjourned. Let the record show 11:58.
We don't have anything after this, do we, Tom?
No, we do not. I've got a meeting, but it's Extension Advisory Committee. Well, thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Madam